If you've ever been on the edge of your seat for two games that went to penalties, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook as we march on this truncated week. It is Tuesday, which means it's a T3 Tuesday. We're also expecting Anne-Marie. We had a drone company report earnings yesterday. That went well. So things are looking all right. We've got Nike tonight. We'll see what happens with Nike, and we'll see if we get any movement out of the JOLTS data today. It's great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here on this Tuesday. We're going to wrap up the end of the month, end of the quarter, and the first half of the year here today. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Tuesday edition for June 30th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. I hope that you all had a wonderful rest of your Monday. Hopefully, if you're anywhere with this record heat, that you are staying cool. Still was able to do 3.8 miles yesterday in the heat, although I fell short of my 4. But it really set up the rest of the day, and it was a great day, capped off with some great sports action. Now we're back here today for the market, and we have pretty much unchanged. We're slightly green today. We'll see how the day ends up unfolding here. It is great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. Francis is first here today. Good morning, Francis. Welcome back. Hopefully all is well with you. Zach McCracken, good morning. Welcome back. Welcome to the Benzie gang as always. Peter, good morning. Welcome back. Yes, that girl. Good morning. Welcome back. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Solitary Soldier, good morning. Welcome back. Crispy Biscuit, it's great to see you. Welcome back. Producers locked in. Absolutely love it. Patji, good afternoon. Patji, are you in Belgium? I ask because if all goes well here this week, we might be looking at a U.S.-Belgium matchup in the next round. We'll see how that goes. Liam, good morning. It's great to see you again. I think it's probably the afternoon for you. Hopefully you're staying cool over there. Daniel, good morning, says he's very satisfied with this notification. That's great. We aim to please around here, but also I'm very satisfied that you have the notifications on for our stream. That is awesome. Be sure to smash up the like for our team here and all that we're doing. Zach says drones, baby, drones. You bet your bottom dollar we're going to cover that here today. AV, really good move here so far. Billy, our human chat scanner, good morning. Welcome back. Pavs Microfloat, former runner for us. That's back on deck here today. Lion Atlas, good morning. How are you doing, Lion? How on earth are you doing after last night? I can't imagine you're on cloud 9 right now. What a game indeed. What a game indeed. Matthew, good morning. Hope the market is as hot as it is here in Chicago. Matthew, I woke up at 4:30 in the morning. I went out to my living room. I looked at my thermostat, which tells me the temperature outside. At 4:30 in the morning, it was 83 degrees outside. And I opened my balcony door so I could let my cat out onto the balcony. And I was like, oh my gosh, it already feels like an oven outside. The sun's not even up yet. Stay cool, brother. Stay cool. And if you have any elderly folk that are in this heat, check on them because this is it's not safe. It's not safe for older folk. I checked in on my mom yesterday. Thank gosh she's doing okay. Neville, good morning. Welcome back. Jamaican, good morning. Welcome back. Captain Cloudy, good morning. Welcome back. Linda, it's great to see you. Welcome back. Kelly, likewise. Good morning. Crankbait, good morning. Acorns, hello. Welcome back. Robot to Trade, good morning. Whisk, good morning. Rooster, good morning. My favorite group, like MASH. Rooster, you set a model example for everybody here today, and we are here for it. HP Darkside Hemi, good morning. Welcome back. The Lions are roaring. Yeah, I sure they are. The Detroit Lions are roaring over their defensive back that they just cut. We won't get into that, though. Pachi, you are in Belgium. Okay, we'll keep our eyes on that matchup. Looking forward to them. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Hot here, too, Liam. Hot. You believe you're in Germany? Stay cool, folks. Stay cool. Just passing through. Good morning. Jeff, good morning. Kelly, good morning. I'm in Gulf Shores visiting son, and it feels like an oven. What state is Gulf Shores in? But hopefully you enjoy your time with your son, and hopefully you two are able to stay cool. G-Cord, good morning. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started. Kick it off today with our stock market today. All right, futures are about unchanged here this morning, although we are dipping a little bit. S&P futures right at the VWAP, currently up 0.05%. These are actually off the highs, but still right around unchanged, still hanging on to green. Dow futures actually just turned negative. That's down by 0.05%. NASDAQ also still holding on to green, but barely 0.13% to the upside. All right, let's take a look at some cues from the last session here and get you ready for what's going on today. Communication services, consumer discretionary, and information technology stocks recorded the biggest gains on Monday. That led most S&P 500 sectors to close on a positive note. However, materials and real estate stocks bucked the overall market trend and closed the session lower. U.S. stock futures did advance on Tuesday as the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P 500 indices rose following Monday's higher close. They have since tempered that a little bit. We'll see how it is when it opens. President Trump demanded on Monday that gasoline retailers immediately lower pump prices to around $2.50 a gallon, following a big drop in crude oil prices, warning of, quote, big problems, end quote, for noncompliance. In a Truth Social post, Trump wrote, quote, gasoline retailers must get their prices down immediately in all caps, end quote. He added, there will be no gouging, which is totally illegal. If retailers don't do this, big problems lie ahead. Start targeting around the $2.50 a gallon number, end quote. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.36%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.1%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show markets pricing in a 68.5% likelihood that the Federal Reserve leaves the current interest rates unchanged during the July meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today, and the first one's called Vishay Technologies, I beg your pardon. Not one that we look at often. The ticker is VSH, and it dropped 6.47% in the pre-market on Tuesday as it announced a $750 million offering to accelerate its growth initiatives and reduce debt. Now, the second stock on our list, probably the biggest one for our group here today, it is going to be Aero Environment, and the ticker is AVAV. This is your best-in-breed drone company. It surged 20.14% as it reported better than expected financial results for the fourth quarter of fiscal 2026 after the market closed yesterday. It guided for fiscal 2027 revenue of approximately $2.3 to $2.23 billion, and that was versus an estimate of $2.19 billion. The next stock on our list is going to be Jack in the Box. The ticker is JACK, J-A-C-K. It jumped 7.23% as it successfully refinanced its debt following the issuance of a $500 million note series. The next stock on our list is going to be Nike, and it was 0.19% higher as analysts expected to report earnings of 13 cents per share on revenue of $10.86 billion after the closing bell today. The final stock on our list is going to be Constellation Brands. The ticker is STZ. It was up 0.38% as analysts expect it to report earnings of $3.21 per share on revenue of $2.39 billion after the closing bell today. All right, folks, let's take a look at the SPY chart. We've been kind of in the same area the last several sessions here, and not a whole lot has actually happened. We're basically today at 741.92. We are slightly above the 20-day moving average. I'm not really concerned about what the price is doing now. I'm far more concerned about where we close with respect to this moving average. We also have a support area, I guess you could call it here, that's between 731.70 and 740. So on the surface, it's great that we're holding above that. Let's maybe use 740 as a key level here today. Pre-market low 741. So I guess 741, 740 would be some of your key levels here for today. But ultimately, I think the big one is going to be, can we close above that 20-day? Furthermore, if we are able to close above that 20-day, that sets the stage for us to maybe make a run at some of the highs here. At minimum, take out the lower high, which would invalidate the very shallow downtrend that we currently see ourselves in. Other than that, we'll wait for either breaking the support area or breaking out above the 20-day to take a look at some of the next levels. Tyler, you want to take a look at Microsoft? Absolutely. Let me add that to the list here. We might even ask our guest about Microsoft here today. I know several of you folks are paying attention to the software names, so we can absolutely take a look at that. But this is what I see here in the SPY. Let's see where we go here today. SPY looks like it's currently trying to hold 741.50 here in the pre-market. We'll see if it's successful in doing that prior to the open. Now, let's take a look at some insights from analysts here. See what's going on. Jeffrey Bookbinder, chief equity strategist at LPL Financial, remains generally constructive on the U.S. stock market, despite recent explosive surges sparking fears of excessive optimism. Analyzing indicators like record margin debt and overbought semiconductor stocks, Bookbinder concludes that while the market enthusiasm has significantly increased, it has not, quote, crossed the threshold into outright irrational exuberance, end quote. Instead of anticipating a dot-com style bubble burst, he views the current market climate as, quote, consistent with a mature bull market that may be due for a pause, end quote. On the economic front, Bookbinder expects overall landscape durability supported by robust underlying drivers, noting that, quote, strong fundamentals can coexist with shorter-term risks as the market digests gains and adjusts expectations, end quote. Looking ahead, Bookbinder anticipates a potential near-term consolidation rather than a prolonged market downturn. He advises investors to brace for broader market turbulence as asset prices cool down. Ultimately, Bookbinder counsels that, quote, investors should remain disciplined, expect higher volatility, and be prepared for opportunities, end quote, that typically emerge when market sentiment normalizes. Now, he didn't comment on the seasonality, which I was kind of hoping he was going to. I will say, if we kind of just trade sideways for a little bit, that's not bad either for trying to take out some of those highs in the near future. Now, it's the last day of June, it's the last day of the quarter, and it's the last day of the first half of the year. So, we'll see where we end up closing. Perhaps we'll have some window dressing near the end of the day. We've talked about rebalancing going on here this week, so none of that should be a surprise. Really, where do we close here today? That should determine what's going on. And remember, the seasonality stats for July are stark. Last 10 years worth of data, 100% to the upside, average gain of 3.39% in the SPY, and an average gain of 3.38% in the RSP, which is something we didn't look at here in the morning show, but we did talk about in depth in happy hour. And I think that's notable because the RSP, which is not nearly as tech heavy as the SPY, is telling you the same thing, that we're likely going to go up, which means we probably don't need tech to be the main driver of that. Again, we'll see how it shakes out, but really curious to see how July ends up trading. Now, let's get to the big story of the day here. Let's get to AV's earnings. I'm going to go over the actual earnings print. Then we'll go over what is kind of coming from this, and I'll give you my opinion on what this means for the rest of the drone sector here. I think we're okay. I know a lot of us have kind of been either owning drones, trading drones, or interested in the drone theme. And I think this earnings report actually helps us. We're going to be fine. AeroVironment reported fourth quarter revenue of $641.62 million. That beat the estimates of $558.81 million, according to Benzinga Pro. The drone maker reported fourth quarter adjusted earnings of $184 per share, which smoked analyst estimates of $146 per share. Quote, fiscal 2026 marked a transformational year for AV, which included the completion of our largest acquisition, meaningful investments towards diversifying our portfolio in critical areas aligned to our customers' highest priorities, and the strongest financial performance in our history, end quote. That came from CEO Wahid Nawabi, chairman, president, and CEO of AeroVironment. Total revenue was up 133% year over year, reflecting higher product sales of $256.7 million and higher service revenue of $109.8 million. The company said it had a funded backlog of $1.2 billion as of April 30th. AeroVironment guided for fiscal 2027 revenue of approximately $2.13 billion to $2.23 billion. That's versus an estimate of $2.19 billion. The company anticipates fiscal 2027 adjusted earnings of $302 to $334 per share versus estimates of $398 per share. That's a little bit light there. Quote, We remain focused on executing with excellence and strengthening our supply chain to accelerate the commercialization of our platform, end quote. And again, that came from the CEO. Now, along the same lines here, it's actually a different story, but along the same lines, AeroVironment said Monday it was expanding manufacturing capacity ahead of the anticipated demand as CEO Wahid Nawabi believes counter-drone systems could become the company's next major growth engine. Well, gosh, you know who else is really good at counter-drone technologies? That would be Ondas. Just throwing it out there. During the company's, great to hear this company say that, by the way. During the company's fourth quarter earnings call, Nawabi said that the drone maker was investing in additional manufacturing capacity across multiple products as it prepares for what it expects will be rising demand. Quote, in fiscal year 2027, we are investing additional capital to further increase our manufacturing capacity across several products and platforms to meet anticipated rising demand, end quote. And again, that came from Nawabi, the CEO. Now, he went on to add that the company is, quote, sensing strong customer indications, end quote, that its solutions will, quote, will receive significant contract wins in the next 12 to 24 months, end quote. The company forecasts fiscal 2027 free cash flow to remain negative as it ramps capital spending to expand production capacity. Nawabi said AeroVironment's counter-UAS, the counter-drone business, which generated roughly $200 million in fiscal 2026, remains in the early stages of adoption. Looking ahead, the company expects the business could eventually rival or even surpass the company's existing drone franchise. Quote, it will not surprise me in the next 3 to 5 years that our directed energy and our counter-UAS business will be equally as large, if not 2 to 3 times bigger. That opportunity is ours to have, end quote. The drone maker has benefited from increased global defense spending since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, as governments ramped up investments in drones, loitering munitions, and counter-drone capabilities. And as mentioned here, AeroVironment reported fourth quarter revenue of $641 million. That beat the estimate of $558 and change, according to Pro. And its adjusted earnings per share of $184 easily beat the estimate of $146 per share. And the company also guided between $213 and $223 million. The estimate was $219, so that's pretty much in line. At least it wasn't lower. They do expect adjusted earnings for the year of $302 to $334. That is considerably lower than the $398 per share, but the stock price hasn't really cared much about that, to be quite honest with you. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at that chart here. AVAV is going to be your ticker. Here's what it looks like. And today in the pre-market, we are holding higher by 33.17%. So nice little move here. This move does, in fact, get us above the 50 and the 20-day. The next thing that I would like to see, let's see how we can get and close above this trend line. This trend line would really kind of change the entire way this chart looks, especially if we have follow through for a couple of weeks or even a month. So I think this is going to be an important day. Where do we close from here? Is this a one-day pop? Does this get sold? All things that we're going to monitor here today, but so far, so good on any of those drone plays. And by the way, I know I tied this to Ondas because personal bias, okay, but the other drone names like RCAT, AVEX, Swarmer, these are all up here today on the back of this report. All right, next story here, unrelated to drones, but maybe kind of. Anthropic is eating Palantir's lunch. Dan Ives is here to say that the Bears, or the Lions, are way wrong on Palantir. Fears that rising artificial intelligence competitors, or AI competitors, like Anthropic, will destroy Palantir's technology market dominance are completely unfounded. This is according to Wedbush Securities analyst Dan Ives, who firmly dismissed the bearish outlook as a, quote, fictional narrative, end quote. Amid recent software market volatility, some investors have voiced concerns that new generative AI models could threaten established data analytics firms. However, Ives fiercely defended Palantir and its CEO, Alex Karp, during a recent Yahoo Finance segment discussing the outlook for the tech trade going into the second half of the year. Quote, "There is no company that has a moat like Karp and Palantir," end quote. That, again, was from Dan Ives. He directly addressed the rising market anxieties surrounding competitors, adding, quote, "And I think those that think that because of Anthropic or because of the overall market that in some way is going to eat into Palantir's moat, I think that's just way wrong," end quote. The broader software as a service or SaaS sector has faced pressure recently, leading to what some have dubbed as a crisis for tech valuations. Ives acknowledged this headwind, but argued that Palantir is being unfairly penalized by broad market generalizations, and I would agree. He explained that Palantir has been unfairly dragged down by a broader software sell-off, along with the false perception of Anthropic eating their lunch. I've dismissed these as we mentioned, fictional narratives. He emphasized that the current bearish narrative seen across the software industry could not be further from the truth when applied specifically to Palantir's unique data infrastructure. Rather than being displaced by new AI foundation models, Ives positioned Palantir as an essential layer for enterprise AI adoption. He dismissed the idea that Palantir's relevance is fading, instead projecting massive growth for the company as the technology matures and integrates with enterprise and government data. Quote, "Palantir, I continue to view SaaS, this is going to be at the epicenter of the AI revolution," end quote. For investors holding Palantir, the Wedbush analyst remarks serve as a strong reaffirmation. And indeed, I know we talk about Palantir here quite often. It's been a great trade for us. I guess we should let's just kind of take a quick look at the chart here, see where we're at. Palantir up 0.3% here today. This is on the back of a 2.45% gain. Look at this. We've held the 500. We actually did my favorite setup. When you dip beneath one of these moving averages and then you close above it. Give me 2 more closes above this, and I think I feel pretty good about Palantir perhaps bouncing and challenging the trend line that we have as resistance above it. See if we end up getting that here. All right. Next story here. The AI theme, we've talked about this ad nauseum. It's not going away. Excuse me. We're going to continue talking about it. And of course, we're going to follow a lot of the big winners for this. That's par for the course. But there's also winners that nobody talks about. And I figured that we might as well cover this article. Some of them we have talked about, but we might as well get this on your radar here so that we can be as prepared as possible. During the last 2 years, the AI trade has increasingly diverged from the broad market. The K-shaped environment in which investors bought the obvious names like NVIDIA, ticker NVDA, Advanced Micro Devices, ticker AMD, Micron Technologies, ticker MU, worked as capital rushed towards silicon. However, that trade has become increasingly crowded, and I'm sure a lot of you folks know that personally. Valuations have expanded, money has flooded into cap-weighted ETFs, and the market has started treating AI and tech as interchangeable terms. Yet the tech market is K-shaped. Just as the S&P 500 has split between AI winners and everyone else, the technology sector itself has broken into multiple independent cycles. Owning tech is no longer an investment thesis. It's simply a basket containing different businesses with entirely different economic drivers. That divergence is obvious when examining the ETF performance. Broad technology funds like the technology sector Spider ETF XLK, which is up 28.49% year to date, have continued climbing largely because the semiconductor giants dominate that index. Meanwhile, more specialized ETFs, such as the iShares Expanded Tech ETF, or IGV, which I'm sure we'll look at here, which is down 12.4% year to date, have dramatically lagged. Semiconductor-focused funds like the VanEck Semiconductor ETF, or SMH, which is up 69.3% year to date, have completely decoupled from traditional enterprise technology. The irony is that the first wave of AI winners may also be the easiest to identify. The next phase won't belong to the companies designing chips. It will belong to firms solving the bottlenecks, preventing those chips from operating at full scale. Well, gosh, you know what that sounds like? That sounds like AI infrastructure. And you know who told us about AI infrastructure? Me and 13 did, but also Tim Melvin. He pounded the table. He got called names, but he ended up being right again. According to the State of the AI Economy report, AI demand is no longer speculative. Even after deducting the circular transactions, annualized Gen AI revenue has surpassed $175 billion. Meanwhile, hyperscalers have committed about $2 trillion of cumulative capital expenditure to build the infrastructure. In that compute supercycle, demand continues to outpace supply across multiple layers, yet bottlenecks are increasingly physical rather than computational. The first, which we've discussed here, is advanced packaging. Facing practical limits of single die silicon, manufacturers are opting for stacking rather than a single enormous chip. This approach dramatically increases bandwidth while minimizing latency, but requires sophisticated packaging technology. The trend shifts value towards the outsourced semiconductor assembly and test, or OSAT companies that actually integrate these designs. ASE Technologies Holding Company, or ticker ASX, is the global leader in advanced packaging volumes. At the same time, Amkor Technology, ticker AMKR, has become deeply embedded in high-performance computing and next-generation AI accelerators. Without advanced packaging, next-generation GPUs simply cannot be manufactured at scale. The second bottleneck is moving data. Training and inference clusters now contain tens of thousands of GPUs, and traditional copper networking is a constraint since power consumption and signal degradation sharply rise at higher speeds. AI infrastructure is therefore migrating towards optical interconnects capable of handling 800G today and eventually 1.6 terabit connections. That trend creates an entirely different class of beneficiaries. Number one, Fabrinet, ticker FN. It manufactures many of the high-speed optical transceiver modules enabling these networks. The second one is Coherent, ticker COHR, and Lumentum Holdings, ticker LITE. Shout out to our group who's been absolutely killing it off these. They provide critical optical components and photonic technologies that have become increasingly important as NVIDIA's networking ecosystem expands. The final, least glamorous opportunity might even be the most important one. As AI server racks grow, the heat they generate is increasingly inadequate for air cooling. Direct-to-chip cooling is thus transitioning from an optional upgrade to essential infrastructure. And a liquid cooling leader, Vertiv Holdings, ticker VRT, reported a record $15 billion backlog as companies race to deploy their technology. Meanwhile, Ecolab, ticker ECL, their $4.75 billion acquisition of Cool IT Systems shows how industrial water management is suddenly becoming part of the AI supply chain. So I think this is really great because several of the stocks listed on here are ones that you folks have been on for a while. And so it's reasonable to assume that we've actually made some gains off that. But there are some others in here. Like I know we've talked about VRT, but we really haven't talked about ECL that much. We've barely talked about Fabrinet, but both of those get mentioned here in this article. So really good stuff. Let me know if you folks have any other, let's call them off the beaten path trade ideas around this sector. I'd be very curious to see what's going on there. I know we have a guest here coming up in 1 minute. I'm going to do one more quick story, and then we're going to go to our T3 guest here. This one is the launch of the Trump accounts on Robinhood. Now, I know we've talked about Robinhood as being a very, I guess, popular or highly traded stock around here. It'll be interesting to see if there's any carry through from this. This won't take long here. Robinhood Markets, which is ticker HOOD, said Monday that its Trump Accounts app is now available to eligible U.S. families ahead of the program's official launch on July 4th. The app allows parents and guardians to activate investment accounts for eligible children, and that is according to the post on X. Robinhood said children under 18 with a valid Social Security number are eligible to establish a Trump account. The company added that children born between 2025 and 2028 qualify for an initial $1,000 contribution from the U.S. Treasury under the program. Additional contributions from family members, friends, and employers are capped at $5,000 annually. Trump accounts are tax-deferred investment accounts for children created under President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The accounts are designed to invest primarily in low-cost U.S. stock index funds and exchange-traded funds, with beneficiaries generally unable to access the money until they turn 18. In April, Robinhood and the Bank of New York Mellon, ticker BNY, were selected by the Treasury Department to help administer the program during its initial rollout. The launch expands Robinhood's suite of long-term investing products, adding a government-backed children's investment account alongside its retirement and education-focused offerings. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said earlier this month that nearly 6 million children had already enrolled in the program ahead of its nationwide rollout. The Robinhood rollout comes as Space Exploration Technologies Corporation, or SpaceX, ticker SPCX, is reportedly in discussions with the Trump administration about making a stock donation to the Trump Accounts program. According to a Semaphore report, White House officials have approached SpaceX about a potential contribution ahead of the program's official launch next week. Several companies, including Dell Technologies, which is ticker DELL, and SoFi Technologies, ticker SOFI, and JP Morgan Chase, ticker JPM, have also announced matching contribution programs tied to the accounts. Now, first of all, obviously getting kids invested early, or getting some type of investment as early as possible, is great for the child and the rest of their life, obviously. But the other thing that's got me wondering here about this story, they're talking about maybe putting SpaceX like an individual stock instead of an ETF in the actual account. This, to me, if they're able to do this, and I don't think anything's solved yet, but if they're able to do this, I actually think this is bullish for SpaceX. Once those shares are in the account, if they can't sell those shares for 18 years, you have a de facto second lockup here going on some of those shares. Now, I guess it remains to be seen how many of those shares actually get added to these accounts and what the effect is of that lockup. But on the surface there, that doesn't sound like a half bad idea, to be quite honest with you. And the other thing is, as far as SpaceX actually appreciating and making a bunch of money, I mean, I think the whole space theme, data centers in space, traveling to other planets and stuff like that, like, we're years away from that. So makes sense to get it in there while the kid is young. And then hopefully by the time they're 18, there's some sizable gains in that. We'll see if that ends up shaking out here. All right. It is Tuesday, folks, which means it is a T3 Tuesday, and we are lucky to have the T3 folks here. Today's guest is Mike Shorr. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Mike, how you doing here this morning? You staying cool?
Great. How are you?
I'm warm. I'm a tad warm, but we're doing good.
It is warm. We've had it easy, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I suppose. We're going to go out there. We're going to see how it is here today. We'll see where we're sitting at the end of the week here, and hopefully our 4th of July doesn't get rained out here. Folks, join Mike Shorr live this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern to see his short-term option system in action. Learn how he finds high-probability setups and exits trades in under an hour. I got to say, you are in front of the right group right now. Can you tell us a little bit about that, or maybe even kind of hint at some of the names you're looking at?
Yeah. Are you talking about the webinar tomorrow?
Well, I'm talking about both. I tried to do a sly tie in there. I am talking about your webinar, but I also want to know what's on your list. Yeah.
So, just the webinars are great, and we get into as much nitty gritty as people want to, because it's a live webinar, and we do Q&A until the end of it. But you get to a little bit of a flavor of who Prosper is, how we approach stuff on the short-term options trading side of things. It's it's informative, and I would love people to come in, ask questions, anything that you want to look at. As far as what I'm looking at here, so this is this is an interesting week, and I'm actually yesterday's trade made me more excited for the rest of the week. Like, sometimes we see, these holiday weeks as more of a holiday limp, where it's like, okay, who's leaving first, and when do we all look at each other like we can all leave? And
I've been there.
Of course. But we have not seen that, and I think that we have enough going on in the market, and just with the timing of the holiday and everything like that, and then with unemployment on Thursday, I wouldn't want to be standing around at 11 o'clock Chicago time on Thursday wondering when the next trade is going to be, but probably not. But up until then, I think we have some really exciting trade, especially for the day trader. As far as positioning myself for this thing, I wouldn't look at that. But really, what we're looking at a market that is probably not going too far. Always the caveat to that is, okay, how far is too far? I think that one way or another, we're going to be somewhere around here come Wednesday, Thursday morning. Now, the path that we take to get there could be exciting. And so, these are good opportunities. You can even argue that the volumes might be down a little bit, which means that most likely in things, if they are a highly traded stock, you're not going to see a big difference in liquidity, but you might see it in total liquidity, but you might see more pockets of trade that get explored during a week like this, because I don't think really anybody has a huge plan other than if they move too far, we're going to mean regress here. Everything across the board from gamma positions from the dealers to the chart is suggesting that, but that's a perfect time for day trading.
Yeah, indeed it is. And I agree. The SPY chart looks like we're kind of just sideways. We've actually seen it the past couple of sessions. The morning has provided an opportunity or two that have made for really great day trades. Yeah. But then by the afternoon, it seems like everything's dried up. Things have really kind of slowed down. And it sounds to me like you're expecting that exact same dynamic to persist through this truncated week towards the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I would think. Everybody get it all out early on. And then, we've seen, and quite frankly, other than maybe 3 or 4 over the last 2 weeks, the afternoons have not been all that exciting. But there's still opportunities. You just have to be patient in this market. Don't try and chase every uptick and downtick. Find the levels and protect those levels with your stop losses and things like that. But it would be and all bets are off if we get some sort of fundamental news, obviously. But the way that it's setting up here, it's going to act like it's going to move, and probably it's not going to. So it's a fader's market for me.
Okay. Now, so first of all, thank you for the backdrop there. That's perfect. Are there any specific names that you like more than others? Like, do you like NVIDIA? Do you like SpaceX? Do you like Apple, Tesla?
Well, we got long NVIDIA yesterday. Okay. So full disclosure there. So yeah, I like it. One that I was looking at this morning is eBay.
Cool.
I know. I don't normally trade it, but it has some potential here, especially if these markets keep melting up like this. I think eBay is really it's set up for a move to 120, 122, something like that. If I'm remembering my prices right. Basically 111.40 is where I want to get long that.
Okay, so first of all, I said ooh because I was surprised that eBay got mentioned, but I absolutely love this idea. I think it's totally timely. First of all, the chart absolutely looks like it wants to curl, break the recent 120 high, and go to your 122 target. But we also got news, I think, either yesterday or the day before, that GameStop actually wants to buy eBay. Like they are still. I don't know what's going to happen, but they are talking about that.
I know that's been going on for what? A month, and I don't know if it makes sense. That's the type of thing where that distinguishes me from a trader than an analyst. I know that pick your trading company. They have a room of analysts that know exactly what's going on. I come from the school that there's no way in the world I'm going to have that sort of coverage for every single name out there, I'm only one person. So the way that I look at it is that the price is indicative of that. And so, and looking at that, this looks like, I don't think this is going to 200 anytime soon,
Sure.
But it can go to 120. I can make money with $9 a move.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good point. So I think this high here, 111.86, was that the number you just gave me?
I said 111.40, but that's close enough.
Okay, I was going to say that's right in the ballpark. 40 cents on $111 stock is much ado about nothing there. I like this idea here a lot. Now, let me ask you, this trade, the $9 that you're trying to capture here, would you do that using stock or would you use options for this? I'm assuming options.
I'm an options trader.
Gotcha.
And so, and in this type of environment, you could make it very simple and do and do a vertical spread. I like the calendar spread because I don't think that this is going to go, like I said, I don't think this is going to 200. If we got to 118, I'd be happy. If we got to 120, I'd be really happy. 122, I'd be like, okay, I maybe should have gone a little bit higher with this one. But the vol structure is suggesting these type of grinding type of moves lend themselves to calendars / diagonals. And in this case, I'm doing a calendar. I put calendars and diagonal in the same bucket.
Okay. That is awesome. That is a very specific breakdown. I'm going to throw you a bit of a curveball here because the chat has been clamoring for Microsoft. Do you have any view on Microsoft? Do you like it, dislike it? If you would trade it really in either direction, how would you approach this? I'll set you up here. This is kind of what we've talked about with Microsoft. Starting on Liberation Day, the Liberation Day low, we have this really, really clean, pretty trend line that has been acting as support. This encompasses the March low from this year, as well as the recent one that we just put in. But it kind of looks like a double bottom on the chart here. What are your thoughts on Microsoft?
So you're talking basically 350-ish?
Yeah.
And
360-ish. Yeah, 355, 360-ish.
Yeah,
right
something in that area, that's fine. It did break out of that trend line yesterday. I don't know what's up with Microsoft. That it seems like it should be one of those ones that are taking off. It's really hard for me to ever bet against a Microsoft, and so when it gets to levels that you're like, wow, this is really testing these levels, I certainly wouldn't be short here. Whether I can get long, you can make the argument. Getting out of that, we didn't quite close above that would be Thursday or Friday's highs, but I think you have a run to 400. I'm certainly more bullish than bearish. I see no reason to sell it here.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm glad that you said that. I feel the exact same way here on Microsoft. I mean, just kind of looking at the price chart here, the last time that I'm looking back here, October of 2023, we were about at the same price we are here today. What's changed since then? AI has exploded and Microsoft is a huge player there. I can't see any reason to sell this either. Now I'm looking at the weekly chart here. We have the 200-week moving average at 387.70. To me, I think if we recapture this, this is all signs go for that 400 test. And frankly, the last time that Microsoft traded up, we got rejected at the 200. So what I'd be looking at for here on Microsoft to move above 400 and then an attempt to get above that 200-day wherever it ends up by the time we get up there. That'd be ideal for this. We'll see if we get it.
That makes total sense. And
okay.
I get it. I usually, it's hard to get that hard wiring of a trader out of me. Looking out 6 months from now, I have no idea. But, within a month or two, I definitely do. And I see, like I said, I see no reason to sell it. And if somebody told me that this was up, 10% over the next month, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, absolutely fantastic. So that curveball I threw you had made contact on that and roped it into the gap. So well done there. Is there anything else on your list that you really kind of like that you're or things that you're stalking? Maybe you don't like it yet. Maybe you're waiting for a setup.
Yeah, I really do. I like the financials and like I said, in NVIDIA, just to do some recent stuff. Really, kind of like what I said, in a week like this, I'm not thinking about 3 weeks from now. I'm thinking about, okay, how do we make ourselves profitably between Tuesday and Thursday right now.
Yeah.
And then next week, we can see if there's any sort of fallout or anything over the weekend, and then regroup. And then I'm starting to think more of positioning type of trades. Right now, I think it's a little bit of, the cat's away, the mice will play, that, maybe some of the big boys and girls are leaving a little bit earlier than the rest of us. And, that they're really not looking to make a seismic shift in any sort of thing, barring anything that comes out of, the Middle East or anything big like that. But I just think that we are, once we define the range, I think that's a good trade for the rest of the week.
Yeah, this week kind of feels like the Thanksgiving week. When I first came up back in 2014, that was like the big stocks were kind of on pause for the holiday, but the mice, as you called them, were making ridiculous moves. We actually used to call it Turkey Crack Week. I don't know if that made
that's totally true.
And it feels like that here this week. Now, you brought up something really interesting there, a very quick mention of the financials. Financials have been a sector that really have not participated a whole lot, and I think that their time is probably coming due. Here's the interesting part. XLF daily chart, we got an impending golden cross coming here. That's, of course, the 50 moving through the 200. I don't know if you value that at all, but this is just kind of holding sideways here. Maybe we do get support from the chart and a breakthrough 56 on some of these financials.
I really believe so, and I'm surprised that I guess that they are a little bit worried about the potential interest rate, that they're under hedged on the interest rate side. Sorry, I just blew up my chart here. I'll find it somewhere. All right, it's not showing up. What are you doing here?
55 and 56. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. Anyhow, I just think that they are in front of this, and I think that if anything is going to affect financials, I think, and I'm not saying that go for small type of banks or anything like that. I just think the big guys hold up much better than anything else. And if you're undecided, it's not a bad place to park money.
No, definitely not. And I think something like JPM, to me, it seems like there's a move kind of being built under the surface here. Goldman Sachs, I like this if it pulls back a little bit more too. I think anything under 1,000 probably good for Goldman Sachs as well.
I totally agree.
Folks, join Mike Shorr live this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern to see his short-term options system in action. Learn how he finds the high probability setups and exits trades in under an hour. That is exactly the type of thing we're looking for this week. I know a huge portion of our community absolutely lives and thrives off of these trades. Mike, anything else before we get you out of here for Tuesday?
No, I really appreciate you having me on. It's always fun to hang out and talk about trading. I'll do that all day long. So if I don't talk to you beforehand, everybody have a great weekend, great long weekend. Happy birthday, America.
Indeed. You are at the right spot if you like talking to traders. That's what we do on a regular basis. Appreciate all you and the rest of the T3 folks do here. Thanks very much. And indeed, enjoy the long weekend and happy birthday, America. Mike, we really appreciate the time here today.
Thanks a lot for everything.
All right, Mike Shorr from T3, really good stuff there. And I could not agree with him more. The way that this week is shaping up feels like we might get some kind of strange moves here, but it might not be in the normal players that you're looking for. So keep your head on a swivel out there. I think there's still going to be some opportunity before we're able to blow stuff up this weekend and enjoy America's 250th birthday. If you do blow stuff up, be safe, folks. We got to come back here with all of our fingers intact. All right. We're done with the news. It looks like we're going to be able to do ticker time. Let me do one street tweet here real quick. And then as we roll through some of the tickers, we will end up doing pre-market pulse as well with 13. Street tweets is right now. All right, tweet here. We haven't really talked about gold a whole lot, mostly because gold's been trading down or kind of not doing a whole lot. Peter Schiff, though, alert. Peter Schiff thinks it's a good time to buy gold. Gold is back below 4,000 again. The Japanese yen is also hitting new 40-year lows against the dollar this evening, which is likely weighing on gold. But yen sellers are jumping from the frying pan into the fire by buying dollars. Okay. A much better move would be buying gold instead. All right. We'll see if Peter Schiff is right. Do any of you like gold right now? I feel like this is not, even like when we take requests from the chat, I feel like gold is kind of wearing off here. There was a period where every day someone wanted to take a look at gold and silver and the accompanying miners and such that connected to it. Does not seem like that is the case. Corey here saying, Ryan, I have a video about gold you must see. Corey, shoot me an email. I would be happy to check that out. Anne-Marie says, I like gold, but with short puts. So another idea on how to trade gold there. Let's go back to live trading here. Let's actually we're going to do ticker time. Okay. We're going to start with the gold chart. We're going to start with ticker GLD, providing my oh, come on here. Let me refresh Pro here real quick. I think I'm lagging a little bit. Corey goes on basically summarizing that. I think gold will increase greatly. Brand new hip hop says that the silver crash scared everybody out of the metals. Okay, and Anne-Marie says, I've got to hold this area near 39.50 on the gold futures. Okay, well, let's take a look at this. Let's see if my yeah, it's working fine. I don't know what happened there. Here's what the gold, this is ticker GLD. This is the Spider Gold Shares ETF. You can see exactly where we're at here. Here's my deal with gold. So, Corey, I definitely want to take a look at that article. I'll read that when I have some time here today. But I look at a chart like this, and especially with an asset like gold, and I hear Mark Petrino right here. It's like a little Mark Petrino is right on my shoulder, and he's saying, why would you try to catch the knife here? Why would you not just wait for this to confirm and move back higher? And I think he'd probably be right here. Every time this thing broke the 200, I guess you could say, let me zoom in here a little bit. Yeah, I guess you could say 2 days later after the break, it tried to trade back up, but it never even really printed the 200. Came back in, tried to go back up again, couldn't get past the 20-day, rolled over again. Now it looks like it wants to roll over even further. So, Anne-Marie, I don't know if this chart is like, if you just multiply it by 10, and that is somewhat close to the gold futures chart. You know better than I do on that one. 39.50. It's got to hold the area near 39.50. So I'm guessing that the gold futures chart is pretty much right at that area. Nonetheless, I would say that if it doesn't hold this area, I'm probably okay waiting out a move back down to that 500. Would we even get there? Yeah, maybe 336, 340. But ultimately, wherever this thing bottoms is kind of unimportant. What I would want to wait for it to confirm a bottom. Like even on some of these bounces here, when we bounce back to the 20-day, we really couldn't get above the 20-day. And the 20-day is pitched down now. It looks like it's as if it's driving the price lower here. So I'd want to wait until this kind of changes. We also, oh, heavens to Betsy, we have a death cross today on gold. We have a death cross today on gold. So maybe we do go a little bit lower, and then that gives us our entry spot here on gold. Anyway, no position for me, so easy for me to look at the chart and say, this is what I would like to do. But honestly, this is what I would like to do. I'm not sure we're done moving back down here yet. I'm also entirely unsurprised that Peter Schiff thinks it's a good time to buy gold. So it is what it is. Okay, what time is it? We got 6 minutes until 13 gets here, so we're going to do ticker time. And if I don't do Amazon, we might lose one of our viewers to heart attack. We don't want that. So we're going to take a look here at Amazon. Here's what I got. Why don't I have a price quote here? All right, let me refresh again and get the price quote here. Shake out the weekends. That's why I'm after short puts in the future. Okay. So maybe we will. Maybe we will do exactly that. Maybe we will roll over, shake out those weak hands, and then get an opportunity here. Okay, back to Amazon here. Sorry about the no price quote there. We're working. That's probably my VPN that's doing that, to be honest. All right, here's where we're at on Amazon. Now, an interesting spot here on Amazon. Number one, we've very clearly been in a downtrend. We did have like this double top type formation up near 280, and we've really kind of been pitched down since then. We have identified this sideways area that Amazon spent a ton of time in, and lo and behold, we're back in that area. Now, we did bounce off of a trend line. We have actually a lot going on at this area that we recently reversed. We have the 100-day, we have the 200-day, we have a downward sloping trend line that did serve as a breakout level, and we have the 225 horizontal line that has been excellent support and resistance going back some time here. Now, we've bounced off of that, and it looks like this was yesterday, right? Monday. Yeah, yesterday we tried to get above the 20-day. This is what it looked like. In fact, we talked about yesterday in the morning. I was mentioning that Prime Day sales this year were up 9% versus Prime Day sales last year. Amazon just ripped out of the gate here. And if I recall, I think some of the other stocks were actually selling off yesterday out of the gate. Amazon notably strong. Now, we were unable to close above the 20-day, but we were able to close out of this purple shaded area. And you can see that much more cleanly here on the intraday chart. Today, little bit of weakness here in the pre-market. Nothing I'd get too excited about. Down 0.5%, big deal. But it does look like we're trying to stay out of this area. So right away here, I would say 238. We probably want to hold above this. Intraday, anything can happen. So maybe we come in a little bit and bounce there. Don't necessarily have a spot for you. But as far as the daily chart goes here, I would absolutely love to hold above this. And the next step would be 1 to 3 closes above the 20-day moving average. That sets up a possible launch pad to take out the 50, and then maybe, just maybe, challenge some of these highs here, 280. Now, if none of that happens, to me, the big area here, 225. So we still have some room down till we get to 225. The 200-day honorable mention there at 232.85. A close under that would probably change some minds. But ultimately, that 225, which is right smack dab in the middle of that range, that should be one of the key areas here to the downside, Izzy. So I know that you were short-term trading this yesterday. I'd love to know what you think here today. If this thing pulls a little bit but doesn't break down, are you liable to trade this to the upside? Are you looking for a day trade on this? Let me know what you think about that. Okay, let's see what else we have here. The Mitchells say QQQ, SPY, and IWM. Okay, well, we already took a look at SPY a few times. Might as well take a look at the Qs and the IWM. That's a really good idea. Here's what we're looking at on the Qs. Now, very similar to the SPY, right? We want to stay above this 20-day. We've really kind of been chopping around here. I don't anticipate the Qs and the SPY diverging much from each other, especially during this week. So I think that this week is probably, like Mike was just saying, this might kind of be a wait and see, especially for some of the big boys, and especially as we get closer to the end of the week. Now, today being the end of the quarter, maybe there's rebalancing shenanigans. We'll see. But ultimately, as far as the chart goes, absolutely fantastic that we've held the 50-day. We would still want to hold that. I don't think we're in any danger of kicking that away here today. And then better still, I would love for a recapture close and then multiple closes in a row above the 20-day. That might set us up for moving higher. I just don't know that you're going to get it this week. Let me know if you folks think we are kind of looking at an outsized move here this week. I just don't see it. I just don't see it out there. Okay. Appears the daily chart on Qs is in a downtrend channel. I would totally agree with that. I would say, let's look at it this way. All right. So the downtrend, let's start with what you were saying. The downtrend here, we're basically connecting the highs here. Very clearly, this is a downtrend. I'm sorry I drew my line poorly here. Art was not my strong suit. But here, we are definitely in a downtrend, albeit a little bit shallow. But here's the other thing. From the recent pullback, we actually are now in a triangle. And I would want to see which way do we break out of this, right? We're smack dab in the middle of this. So we actually have some compression going on here. And I think this really bodes well for what Mike was just talking about. We've got days left here for this thing to move up and down, but really not do anything at the end of the day in terms of its overall movement. And maybe that kind of holds off here until we get to July, or in a minimum until we get past the July 4th holiday and extended weekend here. This is what I see here in the Qs. And then also you wanted the IWM. Let's take a look at that. Now, the IWM a little bit different. I think the IWM is set to break out here. Call me crazy. The chart looks great. We are in, unlike the Qs, we are in a shallow uptrend here. Like, let me just see if I can visually draw this here. All right. Again, did not draw my line all that great, but you get the idea. The other thing is that I was talking to one of my private equity friends yesterday, last night actually, who talks with a lot of people that still work in the business at funds and such. He was saying that a lot of them had to sell a lot of their positions in stocks that didn't work, especially some of these smaller caps. Like they wanted to, the way he described it is cleaning up the books with some of the older, smaller trades that didn't necessarily work. And he cited a couple of other things, and he was saying that I think that the IWM could really kind of bounce from here. I think we might see a move higher in the IWM. I also, helping this trade, I don't think we're going to see rate hikes. I think, if anything, we're going to see a pause. And with oil trickling below 70 and hopefully lower into the 60s, I think the inflation concerns will be put on the back burner. I don't think we're going to see a hike. And I think that would also bode well for the IWM and some of the small cap stocks. That would just be my take on it. I can easily be wrong, but let me know what you think about that. On either the charts or the thesis themselves. Now, folks, we do have a poll going. Please vote in the poll. I want to thank everybody that's voted in our previous polls. One of our writers here is coming up with poll questions and then creating content around not only the question but also the results and what you folks end up selecting in those polls. And it's been great reading. So please continue to vote in the polls. We have one now. I actually should have had the list here. Here's the question itself. Tesla went public 16 years ago on June 29th, 2010. That was 16 years ago yesterday. Which of the following best describes you? You've never owned Tesla stock directly outside of ETFs and mutual funds. You currently own Tesla stock, or you've traded Tesla stock in the past, but you don't currently own it. I'm curious to know if we have short-term or long-term holders or traders in Tesla's stock. Thank you, by the way, for voting in our poll. All right, it's pre-market pulse time. Let's see what the movers have in store for us. Let's bring on 13. Good morning, 13. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. How are you? How's everybody in the chat this morning?
Everyone in the chat seems great. Ken Jalia really quick says, I like the desktop look. Are you talking about our new on-stream assets here that the producer has worked to get live? Like the news headlines at the bottom that are scrolling by and the constantly talked about popular tickers with the quotes at the top. Do you like that, Ken Jalia? Because I do. What do you got, 13?
I got some movers that are doing some moving things.
I got some movers doing some moving things. Say less, buddy. I'm going to move over to the movers tab right now. What is on your list here?
GEM, SVRE, and just recently popped up cells.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to start with JEM. Because I actually was just completely amped on coffee today. And I was able to do a whole bunch of my pre-market prep before we went live. So I actually had some time to take a very quick glance at the movers. And the first thing I saw on GEM, I had little 13 right here being like, look at the trend line. Look at the trend line. Look at the trend line. So I drew the trend line on both sides of it. And lo and behold, by the time 13 comes on, we've busted the trend line and we've rolled higher here. So it looks like we traded up towards 550. This is a Hong Kong name, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Yeah. Hong Kong name here. This is 707 Cayman Holdings. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge on that one. We're up 335% today. Just absolutely ridiculous. Here's the PR from today. 707 Cayman Holdings appoints a new executive director. Okay, cool. 300% gains incoming on the back of that news. LOL. 36.16% of the float shorted, really high short interest there, but only 1 day to cover. On average, stock trades just under 1 million shares, done 57 million here today, and the float is a micro float, 630,000 shares in the float. 13, what do you have, JEM?
Not much left to talk about. You basically got it all there. The thing that I was hoping would happen already happened. Unfortunately, it happened a little bit sooner than I'd like because I just looked at it for the first time since covering all these, and it broke through the trend line that I also drew myself. So now that trend line is going to be support. And with that 36% of the float shorted, we could see this, and the 630,000 shares. This might not be the only move it does today. So I don't know that I would want to, take a position at this point. I think I'd wait for the open. If you were going to trade it in the pre-market, the move to get in for it, I think is already in progress. So I think for me, if I'm going to trade this, I'd want to wait for the move to come back in and find some support. That might be the best time to try and trade this. I don't think I'd jump into this right now while it's still on a bit of a run.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Sorry for stealing your thunder. Was not my intention. But let me ask you, now that you've talked about this coming back in, do you think really like 450 here, maybe a back test of the trend line, which might even happen at 450? That seems palatable for an area.
That's where I'd like to see it come back into. Don't know where the exact reversal area or the support area is going to be, but I'm just going to be leaning on that trend line for now. We did just pop up to 566 and came back in. So that may also be indicating to us that there's some resistance up here. Let's look at a daily chart and see if that's the case. So we do have, I do have some, peaks up here. That's like the most recent one was from April, and that actually took us up to 555. So we just snuck past a little bit stuck past that high a little bit. The one before that, the high was 740. If we do get past the high we just made, that could be the next one to keep an eye on. And then it looks like $9 even might be the next resistance after that. So that's all I see for now on JEM. We just need to get come back in and get that support.
Okay, we'll see if we end up getting that. I will say that this is obviously in the past and it won't matter going forward, but we did have a fair value gap, very, very narrow one, which are my favorite to trade because it allows you to have really, really tight stops. But anyway, the fair value gap from earlier in the pre-market, this ended up holding. Now, I don't think this area can be used again as this gap is no longer unmitigated, but we'll see if we form any others here throughout the course of the day. That's JEM. Good breakdown there on JEM. All right, really quick, I'm just kind of, what else do you have on your list?
SVRE and CELZ.
Okay, let's do those. Then we'll get to Joby. Izzy's losing his mind here. Apparently, there's some Joby news. We'll look at that in a sec. Let's hammer out the ones that you've already prepared for first. SVRE. This is Savarone 2014. I know we've traded this before. I recognize this ticker. I know we've traded this before on some PRs in the morning. This thing feels to me like kind of a pop and drop thing. This did it make a nice move towards 9. We've come back down. We've lost the VWAP, but we've held the 9 EMA. So at least we've got that going on. This is an Israeli company. And the headline here from today, Saver One enters a military UAV market. Probably a good morning to do that on the back of the AV earnings. Signs a term sheet to acquire 33.3% of Griffin Aircraft Industries with an option to increase to 53% at a 30 million euro valuation. Now, unfortunately, I'm not familiar with these companies. That will require a little bit more research. I can do that when I have some time here. Quick peek at the short interest. I'm not going to take everything from you, 13. 0.37% of the float shorted, 1 day to cover, and it is exponentially above its average volume. On average, it trades 35,000 shares. We're at just about 1 million shares, a little bit shy of that in the float. 13, what do you think here? Saver One, SVRE.
This is another low float one that could see some pretty good moves. We already had that big impulse move that took us up to 891 this morning. We're coming back now from that. Would like to see if we can get some support with this current 5-minute candle that we're in. If we do manage to get support in this area, and then we can recapture VWAP above this 891 high that we printed, I have 915 and 1150 is the next potential areas of resistance. The company does have little revenue. It does have some cash. It's not profitable. And it looks like this is another one that it's going to have to raise capital at some point soon. They lose quite a bit of money, tens of millions every quarter, and they don't have tens of millions in the bank. So this is just another one that could potentially do a capital raise. GEM could also potentially do that as well. But both of those are basically in the same situation. Low float, recent, not long ago they did recent reverse splits. They needed to raise some capital. Both of these could be on deck for a capital raise as early as today. Don't know when exactly it's going to happen.
Okay, so buyer beware, it sounds like, on both of these, despite the move here. Okay, next here, CELZ, CELZ. This is Creative Medical Tech. This stock was a penny stock yesterday when it closed at 81 cents, and today up 198%. It is in a 240 handle. We have absolutely traded CELZ before. At least this one is a U.S. company. Let's see what we have here. Creative Medical Technology files a Form RW withdrawing the registration statement because it no longer plans to consummate the offering of its securities described in the registration statement. So they're canceling an offering here. To the moon it goes, it sounds like, plus 230%. Quick peek at the short interest, 4.24% of the float shorted, 2.91 days to cover. There's some there, but I don't think that's going to impact anything here today. On average, it trades 100,000 shares. It's traded 27 million here today, and the float is 3.64 million. What do you think here, CELZ?
I think it just ran into the 500-day SMA and got rejected. So that's the next area we got to get above. And if we do climb over that, looks to me like 325. That area could be next before $4. Extra resistance areas. Company doesn't have any revenue. It has some cash. It's probably going to have a lot less now that it pulled that statement, and it's not profitable. Still think they're going to have to raise cash at some point. Maybe they do it through private placement. Maybe they found some other way of raising capital. But looking at their financials and their balance sheet, they're going to have to raise it somehow. So because they do have a bit of a cash runway, but it's maybe like 3/4. So it's great news that they're not going to have to dilute their shares, but they're going to need that capital one way or the other. So that remains to be seen how they're going to raise it.
I love this. So first of all, Tenzin saying going to be $3 in 5 minutes. Actually, the $3 level stands off the chart here. But Zach, I love this comment. Zach saying they will do a new offering today at triple the price.
Yes.
That is a cold-blooded move for sure,
Excellent.
Zach, if that's what they end up doing. But that would be so dirty. That would be so dirty. Anyway, be careful here. Look, with all of these movers, especially the ones here today, I think the overarching theme is to just be careful.
Yep. And if you're already in one that's taken off like this, just hold on like you're Tom Cruise taking off in a plane on the outside of it.
Okay. Okay. Jay, so really quick, first of all, Jay, welcome back. I'm 7 shots off my age one day. Ryan shot a 72. So you're not 79, right? So you're 65. Anyway, I would actually give my right arm to make a 72 on the card and then be able to boast some of my friends. That would be a really good day. I'm disappointed you didn't invite me, but we can fix that in the future. He goes on to say I had 2 names get bought while I'm away. So your vacation ended up being pretty awesome and got paid for by mergers and acquisitions, which is never a bad spot to be. We actually talked about the IRDM acquisition yesterday and how that is actually good and accretive to Rocket Lab. Mm-hmm. So congratulations, Jay. I know you were a big IRDM holder. It basically got taken out near the highs. But congrats on that. And welcome back, of course. Welcome back on that. All right.
So far, it looks like we're getting that support on the trend line from GEM. Just need to hold here.
Yep, there we go. Okay, this is exactly what we talked about. Trend line to 450 area. That's about 445 to 450. It's exactly where we're at right there. Good mention on that one. All right, real quick, let's do Joby. Let me just mention real quick from the list here, you will see other drone companies on here. I talked a little bit about Ondas. That's on the movers list. Arcat is on the movers list here as well. Interestingly enough, Redwire is on the movers list. Looks like they have a piece of news. We can take a look at that. But let's start here with Joby. Joby, a real good pop here in the pre-market. Stock closed at 863 yesterday, popped above 9, but has come back in Excuse me, it actually lost the VWAP. Now we're still up 4.3% here. And here's the news. Joby Aviation and Toyota formed JTAMPC JV to manufacture the company's S4 series eVTOL aircraft. So they're in the initial phase of a strategic manufacturing alliance to realize air mobility for all. So one of the things that I'd like to do here, I'd actually like to go through this PR. Let me do this. Let me actually just copy this. I can start doing this 13 while you're popping off about this one. Nonetheless, stocks up 4% here. Quick peek at the short interest on this, 15.36%, 3.29 days to cover. So it's not high by either metric, but it's still elevated in there and worth watching. Maybe you get some type of squeeze action on that. On average, it trades 31.5 million shares. It's only done 2.3 million here today. I still think we probably get to that average with the catalyst there. And the float much thicker than some of these other ones, so won't behave the same way. 655 million shares in the float there. 13, what do you think here on Joby?
I think we just reversed off of an extremely long trend line. Do you have it? So you have it. I was just going to ask you if you have your daily chart going back to the beginning.
Let's see if I've got one here on my bigger chart. I can try drawing it on this one.
Yeah, so you want to go all the way back to 2021.
Which I don't have. Let me try one more thing. Let me try one more thing here. And see if I can grab some of the price history there. I don't know why my price history doesn't load like it should, but in any case, where is my chart tool?
Yeah, Zach, Jober and Archer. Well, I don't know about years.
Sorry, 13. We're going to have to do this without it. Unless you want to post the picture and I'll pull it up from the chat.
I'll post it. I'm not going to try to describe this. And I'll put it on a monthly so you can see it better. But we just rebounded yesterday off the same trend line that I've had drawn here since a while back. Go. 1 second, and there you are.
I was going to say it does look like there's one there in the bottom, but let's actually get the.
That's not even that might be the one side of it. There you go. So the price yesterday literally bounced off this trend line, and we're getting a lift off that now. So the next thing we want to see is for this to recapture. I would say 10. 10 looks like the big resistance area, and I'm pretty sure this was a SPAC. I might be wrong about that, but. If it was, then 10 is definitely going to be a big level. That's the SPAC price. And here we go with GEM. Reversal off the trend line, and it's coming up.
I was literally like, I'm sitting here listening to you talk about Joby, and I'm like, this is great. And Izzy's probably smiling, and that's wonderful. But literally what we just talked about here with GEM is happening. Mm-hmm. Literally, we called this. We gave you the spot, and then we commented that, hey, it's happening here at the spot. And now look what's going on. GEM actually trading higher. 5 tests coming here.
It's still dealing with that same resistance it's had in those past a couple of candles from 10, 15 minutes ago. So we just want to see the volume increase and take out that area of resistance. And it looks like it might even be $5. That's the spot. So we need to see bigger volume to get through that $5 area, and then we should be printing newer highs. Anyway. Right. So
interesting stuff there on GEM. Yeah, you want me to go back to Joby?
No, I'm just going to wrap it up. So that's the trend line we just bounced off of. I would think that if we, with this news, that we do trade up back towards 10, we need to get back over it. Somebody help me out here. Was this a SPAC or not? I know that Archer was. I just can't remember if Joby was a SPAC or not. I could probably look it up myself, but
I'm going to do it for you though, 13. So don't even worry about that. Right. Yes, Joby Aviation begins trading on the NEAS after SPAC merger.
Okay, yep. So then $10 is going to be a big level for Joby.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, Alpha Trades joining late, asking if we've covered what was in the A block. The answer is yes. AV, this is probably the big earnings report of yesterday. This is great for the drone industry, frankly. A lot of the other drone companies, as mentioned, have been moving off of this. Alpha Trades, I went ahead and threw the link to the story that has a couple of really good CEO comments as well as the numbers themselves for AV. But this actually doing really well. This up 28% here today. I don't know if it closes up 28%, but it's clearly lifting the tide for everybody else. we took a look at let me actually go back to the bigger chart here, because we looked at this AV chart earlier today. And one of the things that we were saying here, let me zoom in real quick. One of the things that we were saying here is awesome that it's up here, but it needs to hold up here. So I have a trend line. We've been in a downtrend all year. We're above that trend line now. We're above the 50-day. We're above the 20-day, but it's got to hold this area. We really want to see it hold this area. So if I'm going to assign some numbers to that, 169, I'm just going to call it 170. Would really love for AV to close above 170 here today to really kind of change things.
Here's several things I like about this. So we do have, you know, how I am with these previous all-time highs, right? So one previous all-time high that we have here from March of 2024, that took us up to 184.61. So I have 185 as a big resistance level in this name. When I go back to like the weekly or the monthly chart, one other thing that stands out here is that we lost the 200-week SMA last week, and we just recaptured it with this earnings move here. Mm-hmm. So that is a big recapture. In addition to that, the monthly chart
gotta hold.
In addition to that, the monthly chart is showing that the 50-month SMA is still providing support, has been since 2022. And when we came down here in April of 2025, that was the support. We're getting it now again here this year. Next that needs to happen, got to get back above 185 because the 20-month SMA is next.
Yeah, absolutely. Yassine saying AV is a fade. And then Jay, I had mentioned this earlier when we covered this in the A block, Jay reminding us the bar was extremely low. They actually lowered estimates for the year. They were in line for the next quarter's guide, but the full year guide, which is what Jay is talking about here, they're looking at adjusted earnings for fiscal 2027 of 302 to 334 a share. That was versus the 398 estimate. So that is probably one of the downsides of that report. But so far here, Jay, looking pretty good on AV.
I think I would lean into what Yassine is saying on this note. If we cannot get back above 185, then yeah, I think this is a fade.
And I want to see it hold 170 just for more upside on that. Okay. Good stuff there. Eric wants to take a look at Redwire. Eric, I hear you out there. I couldn't fit that in earlier. We briefly talked about Redwire. 13, you sent me a video showing that Redwire, I know we talked, there was like fairy tales. I can't remember exactly. There was a bear case on this. Someone thought, might not be all that great. We've literally seen the product in space being used. So that as an aside. Would you mind taking a look at the chart here for Eric while I step away for just 1 sec?
Sure. Let's take a look and see what we got here. I'm also in this one. I picked up some more when we were testing that 200-day SMA. So enjoying this little move up that we've got here. Need to get over 200. I'm sorry, 200. We need to get over 12. Looks like we're trading above that right now. So that's a good sign. We just need to hold above that into the open. The next resistance that I'm seeing here is going to be at $13. You can see that on the way up here in May, we ran into $13 as resistance. We kind of backed off for a couple of days, and we had this high volume candle take us through that level. So we could end up seeing something similar to that. And then once we got through that $13 level, every maybe for the next 3 or 4 days after that, we were testing that $13 level as support. So $13 is the next resistance area that I see that we need to take out. Don't know if we'll end up hitting that today, although we certainly could with the way that this has been moving off the low. So that's what I'd be keeping an eye on right now is if we can get back above $13. That appears to be the next resistance area from here. And Redwire is a buy. I agree. I think Redwire is great, and they are doing a lot of testing for different applications in space. And we were talking about that earlier. 3D printing is one of them. 3D printing biological materials, another. Redwire is the picks and shovels of the space industry and of research in space. So if you want to, they have biological pharmaceutical testing that they have as well. So there's if you want something tested in space, Redwire is usually the company you're going to go with.
Okay. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
$13 is the resistance area.
And thank you, 13. This is a perfect day to try out the air conditioner that's built into the seat.
Nice.
And that is working well here. So, okay. Redwire, Tom saying Redwire has a huge backlog of orders in the pipeline as well. And then Yelt, I'm probably saying that wrong, I'm sorry, asking about ASTS. So I guess while we're still on the space theme here, do we want to take a quick peek at ASTS?
Sure.
ASTS down 3.77% here. Actually, it looks like it got rejected at the 50. We're still above the 200-day. I got to think that we got to close above 81.35 here today. Let me check to see if there was any news here. This might just be a pullback after advancing 21% yesterday.
It looks like this is going to try and trade higher, but I think what might happen today and maybe even tomorrow is we may get some sideways price action as the 20 and the 50-day SMAs provide resistance. That's a guess. I'm just looking at the MACD and seeing that we are kind of pitching up, so it looks like we are trying to recover here. The company in general, I'm not really thrilled with. I probably mentioned that before, and I understand that they've got a very important frequency spectrum that allows them to operate their satellites to be beam direct to cell phone. The problem is that they are not pulling in the revenue that I think they were expected to, and I think that really puts a lot of pressure on their cash position and their profitability going forward. I have really big concerns about this company being able to compete with SpaceX and maybe even now Rocket Lab, and that they've got a satellite network under their belt. So, and I know that they're not exactly the same thing. I understand that, but you have two companies that this is competing against now that have launch capabilities. One of which this company uses that company, the SpaceX company, to get their satellites up. So I think they have a lot of operational costs that are just really draining their bank account. And until that revenue starts coming in, I think this company could be in trouble. It might not be immediately apparent right now, but I think they need to really start bringing that revenue in that they were expecting to, because they are losing a lot of money every quarter.
Okay. All right. And real quick here, also saw the company announced the upcoming launch of the Bluebird satellites 11, 12, and 13 aboard a Falcon 9 rocket in August. These satellites are expected to deliver nearly double the peak data speeds of the previous models. So it seems pretty important. This is going to need to go off without a hitch. Lynn mentioning here, ASTS won Rakuten Japan $1 billion contract. Was that a recent thing? I didn't see that as of today.
I've seen them win a lot of contracts, and for some reason that revenue just doesn't seem to be showing up. And that's a concern. So they can win all the contracts they want. When I look at their income statements, and it's 15 million in revenue, and they've lost 200 million net, there's a real concern there.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully these satellites put up there in early August. Hopefully that does well for the company. The chart, I think we covered that, really should hold above the 200. We might retest that trend line to the downside if we don't. All right. We have 3 minutes until we open, less than 3 minutes till we open here. Yassine mentioned that there was MU news about Trump accounts. Is that MU being put into the Trump accounts? Micron Technology announces a $250 million investment through Trump accounts. Let's see what this says here. Let me pull out some. Oops, 13. I'm going to have you go over the chart here while I try and pull nuggets out of the PR, if that's okay with you. We're running out of time here. Go ahead with the chart. I have a thought on Micron. I actually think there might be more upside. Can't even believe I'm saying that, but there might be more upside based on some of the fundamentals. But 13, if you want to take a look at the chart here, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So yesterday we had I would look at this as a reversal candle, the hammer that got support from the 20-day SMA. So if we are going to get a reversal here, we should see some higher prints. I would think that 1200 should be on deck for today, at least for a test. That's if this reversal candle holds true. So that's about where I would kind of pin the minimum upside here if we are going to get this reversal follow through. we could see it go much higher, but I don't know how much higher, to be honest. I think I would feel comfortable saying, yeah, 1200 looks achievable today. It's not, extended. We kind of cooled off here over the past few trading days. So I wouldn't, I don't think I'd be opposed to the idea that we are going higher. I'm going to print some new all-time highs. Let's just see if we can get past 1200. I think that's the next resistance area.
Okay, and the news here, this is basically Micron is committing $250 million to fund Trump accounts. This is basically a hybrid of the 529 plan plus a custodial brokerage account plus a corporate match plus the public policy initiative. So nothing impacting Micron here, just pretty good for actual people. I got another thought here on Micron, but we'll get to that when we have a little bit more time. Market is open. Let me flip over to the main workspace. SPY's first move was up out of the gate to the VWAP, and it stopped there.
Yep. Now we have Gem testing that trend line as support. We'll see if it can hold up there. SVRE. This is also getting a little bit of a pull out of the gate here, coming down. Do you have a fair value gap on SVRE that we're about to enter?
Let's take a look here real quick. I do not. No, at least not from the indicator. Nope. All right, let me put up sells here.
Yep, it's 320 now.
Yeah. This thing's up nearly 300%. Huge pop here on sells.
Coming up to resistance. We are trading up to some, well, I guess it didn't matter to them. It just blew right past it or entered it. But it is in some consolidation from October last year now. And SVRE is holding. Jim trying to hang in there and trying to hold that.
Sorry, it sounded, I don't know if that was my internet or if that was your.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know if it's my internet or yours, but there was a little bit of a breaking up there and probably a little bit of a delay. I'm sorry for talking over you, 13.
NMBR, this is one I think we looked at yesterday. This is taken off. It just spiked up to $4. FCell, another one we looked at yesterday, also ripping out of the gate. SDOT, one of the movers from yesterday, that also ripping out of the gate. $48 in the after hours was the high.
Sky Quarry, this punched above its VWAP. By the way, the SPY is trying to punch above its VWAP right now. Okay, Selena, I was actually just looking to bring this up, so I'm glad you did. Starwood, 52-week low. Today is the dividend day. Starwood is trading down on the dividend today. In fact, I'm actually going to add a scotch to this right here because we're going to get that dividend paid out here. There we go. Let's add a little bit here. Okay.
Uh-oh. Gem losing that trend line.
God, my broker is so laggy. Guys, Thinkorswim, extremely laggy for me here right now. Like 2 frames a second. Let me try clearing the memory here. This is insane. I did add to Starwood down here, by the way. Sorry, 13.
Sells 365.
Good God.
SFRM, Surf Air Mobility. This is trying to break back into $1 territory. This is the, I think this is the airline internet company.
Is that SBFM? Is that Surf Air Mobility?
SRFM.
SRFM. Ah, sorry.
Some good mention on Starwood. We just opened lower and now we're trying to get back above VWAP.
Yeah, I mean, it took a hit because the dividend that's paid out pays out 48 cents a share. It's not going anywhere. I added a little bit more here. I owe it after I'm going to collect the dividend. It doesn't get paid till July 15th. But after I collect that dividend, I like to reinvest back in the stock so my dividend keeps growing. That's what we've done here today on Starwood.
West Capital killing it on sells. He is now out. He just took that thing for a ride.
Sells, big mover here. Oost getting mentioned, OUST, that is continuing from yesterday. Oost has absolutely been fantastic. This, I remember when we first started talking about this in the low teens here on this show. It's been a good one to put away for a little bit.
FCell still climbing, 32.
SpaceX and Tesla is climbing. FCell, let me put it on screen, 13. Sorry about that. Ondas calls getting bought. NVIDIA calls getting bought. NVIDIA multiple sweeps getting bought. AV puts getting bought. So that fade trade that we talked about looks like people are positioning themselves in options for that. That is a short term. Yep, that is this week.
Sell's still climbing, looking for 4. Bloom Energy up 5%, says Kathy. MSTR back on track to 0.
We need Jamie Dimon in here for that. Joe. By the way, SPY got rejected at that VWAP, came back into the 9 EMA, is now through VWAP to the upside again. No signal from my indicator. No position for me on this SPY pump. 742 test coming here on the SPY. Boy, oh boy, the air-conditioned lumbar part of this chair, this is awesome. Highly recommended for anyone considering that, by the way.
Sell's flying through 4 and halting.
408. The halt time there, 9:35:46. So we're looking at 9:40:46 is your resumption time, 13.
We also have Gem now climbing back up now that we have one of the other movers in a halt. Looks like 460 is the level it's trying to get through. It's got to get a little bit more volume expansion, and we can get through 460 with some force. That should take us up to 5 if we can get through 460.
All right. All right. Let me give you my really quick thought here on Micron. And frankly, I'd like you to punch holes in this. Not only you, 13, but I call on anyone that's looking at Micron or thinks about fundamentals. Jay, looking at you, Anne Marie, I'd love your opinion on this. Let me just kind of give you my napkin idea here on Micron. All right, so Micron here, it's about 1150, right? Price tag is 1150. If we take a look at the earnings and the guidance, when was it that this company started guiding aggressively? I think that was in the September quarter, right? So 2020, yeah. So it was actually, I'm sorry, it was the June quarter. So the guidance in the past here, it jumped from 147 to 167 to 235 to 265. Let's see what they actually did here in earnings. So if we actually go to earnings here for EPS, and we go to earnings from 2025, they did 191, and then the next quarter they did 303. All right, so that's when they really started aggressively moving up. There was 303, then 478, then 1220, and then 2511, this last one. So let's take a look at the price here. What was the price on September 23rd of 2025 for Micron? Let's go back to the chart here. Let's go back to a daily chart here. And 13, if there's something going on, yell it out. I'm sorry if I'm taking too long on this.
I'm just waiting for Sells to unhalt.
All right. September, I'm going to get you September 25th. Price is about 168, okay? So 168 last year in September. Now, let's go back to the calendar here. Let's take a look and see what they're guiding for the September upcoming quarter here. They are guiding 30 to 32. So they are guiding for a year later, their EPS guidance is 10x what it was a year previous. Well, the price was 168 a year ago. The price is currently 1149 right now. So the EPS is 10x, but the price hasn't gone 10x yet. A 10x price puts a price tag here at $1,600. So the napkin math there, I ask you, if Micron pulls back to the 20-day moving average, which is about 1050 or thereabouts, maybe 1075, is Micron a buy at the 20-day, considering the EPS is 10x, but the price hasn't yet? Because I can make the case that you can buy Micron on a pullback to the 20-day based on that. And that's not looking necessarily at price momentum. That's looking at its earnings and what it's actually doing and what comes out to the bottom line and what they're guiding.
Well, I think that they're going to probably end up going higher for a time because their production's already booked up.
And that's one of the reasons I feel confident in this 13. You're exactly right, because I think they're going to meet that guide easily. They're probably going to break it. I would imagine the company trades higher. They said they're booked out through 2028, maybe even 2029.
I think there's, now I need to look into this some more, but I think there's some kind of suit going on with all the memory makers because it's really affecting a lot of different industries, including some of these game console manufacturers. I think I want to say that there's some kind of lawsuit going on against that. I don't exactly know who it's who's leading that charge, but I think there could be some involvement with Microsoft and Sony. So I just need to do some work on that. But I've heard that there's some kind of lawsuit over their memory prices.
The only thing would be price caps. So regarding the I don't know about the lawsuit 13. That actually gives me something to look into, and I will do that as some homework. Eric here is saying the only thing that would affect us is the price caps. I would say that, and then the supply, right? If all of a sudden a whole bunch more memory supply comes online, which I don't see happening in the next year, that could be a negative for it. But to me, and Nikhil, you were saying, I think that's what Lion was saying a few days ago. I don't remember Lion tying numbers to it, but if this is what he was saying, then I just drew you a map based on some of the numbers there. I don't know. To me, I feel like even given the rise here, Micron, if this thing pulls back, it is still probably a buy.
Here, here's an article about that. It's they're
Is that? Can you guys still see me? Oh, there we go. That was 13. Okay.
It wasn't me, but it might have been Restream.
Restream. Well, I'm sorry.
Everything else was fine.
I apologize. 13 speed.
Yeah, but there's a link to the lawsuit. Apparently, it's pretty new. So there's Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron are sued over price fixing.
Now, Lion, I think you're saying that lawsuit is a nothing burger and that Micron will be just fine. Lion, did you hear my breakdown on the EPS and the 10X? I will buy Micron on a pullback. Even if he didn't hear the numbers, he looks like he's thinking the same thing. All right, real quickly. By the way, SPY at the day highs just got a sell signal. And I'm just noticing for the first time, I also got a buy signal on the 9 EMA push. Didn't take the trade, not in the trade. Here's what the SPY looks like. It looks like this is going to try and go higher. Chris asking, are you playing Nike earnings, Ryan, in 13? If so, any trade ideas? I'm not, and it's because of my own personal bias. So if I miss out on money, I have no one to blame but myself, Chris. I understand the stock is sold down, but the CEO has told us that the turnaround isn't going as well as it is. Nobody seems to like the shoes or any of the products. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know anyone clamoring for Nike products right now. I don't know that this is the report where you catch the falling knife and end up making a positive trade off of it. So I don't like Nike here, but I'm okay if I end up missing that and I'm wrong and it trades up. I'm okay with that. Lion, yeah. I just woke up from my nap. No surprise.
I think something's going to have to happen here with this Nike earnings. They're going to have to announce something because otherwise, I think that it's just going to be bad news. You know, I kind of get that feeling that's sorry, it's just a feeling that I have, but based on everything that's been happening with the company, you know, they still have an inventory problem. They still have as you pointed out, the CEO admitted their turnaround is taking longer than expected. I'm wondering if there's more to the reason why Tim Cook bought shares, other than he's just on the board of directors and he's got a requirement to. I don't think that's what he ended up doing. I think he did it on his own volition. I would really want to see something different out of this earnings report, some kind of announcement about a new product or something collaborative, something maybe in wearables, wearable technologies. I think that needs to happen. If we don't get anything spectacular out of this earnings report, I could see this coming in more.
Yeah, and so Eric here said it would be great if they had another Apple collaboration. He got the ticker wrong. It's AAPL, but I know what he means, and I would agree with that. You get an Apple collaboration, more wearables, the whole Tim Cook thing becomes clear. That I could make sense of, that I could understand. But Jay's also bringing up another good point here. The bar is really low here, and I think that's one of the things that you've got going for it. So maybe an AV type. Lion here saying if Nike is going to put up an okay earnings, they're probably going to bounce just because of that bar. So, Chris, I see where you're coming from. It's just not my cup of tea. Speaking of my cup of tea.
Yeah. By the way, some of these movers we were talking, not the ones we looked at today, but the ones I just mentioned in passing this morning. FCell still ripping. 34 was struck. S dot also still ripping, coming up to the after hours high from yesterday. There was one other one that was also doing. Surf Air Mobility SRFM that finally crossed over $1. Crazy movements here in a lot of these names that were running previously in past days.
Nike needs Sydney Sweeney.
You joke about that, but I think that would actually help a lot. I really do. I really do think it would help a lot.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing.
But you got to think at some point that gimmick, that play, is going to wear itself out if she keeps showing up in different ads of companies that are on the decline. But it's a joke, and I think I would agree with the idea that she could turn sales around.
Now, Ed, this is interesting. Ed here saying the 5250 calls for Nike. There were 7,000 contracts. Now, that wasn't today. I think this was yesterday, right? 5250. So that January contract has 10,835 contracts held open there. That is without a doubt the biggest. Oh, now that's the 50. The 5250 is at 9,000. So I'll tell you what, that 50 to 5250 area on Nike does look like it has a lot of call buyers parked there for that January contract. And that's got some more time to get there. We'll see. We'll see on Nike. We're going to be watching that in the happy hour show today for sure.
S dot 49.31 is the high. Looks like it wants 50. But we might be getting a reversal candle here, so not sure if we'll get that or not. But great run this has had. Skycore was also mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, this one's at the after hours highs from yesterday. S dot.
Yep. So great stuff with Velo. That one had come down to a pretty good buy spot last week. Looks like 1573 was the low, and it's been on recovery. So that short report, this is the one that had the short report, not really continuing to affect it. It looks like it initially did, but I didn't bother reading it because I'm sure it's probably full of false information. But I'll still read it nonetheless.
They had news here this morning.
Oh, did it?
Velo 3D triples production capacity to meet the strong defense and aerospace demand.
Yeah, flies in the face of that short report.
Yeah, it sure does. A 288,000 square foot facility in Livermore, California for advanced manufacturing. That's your news on Velo.
S dot 5140 now. Yeah, tripling production due to demand is not something that I think the short report was mentioning was going to happen.
No, it was not. And that would be definitely a good thing here.
So it kind of goes, it makes me think, well, was this short report put out so that, better prices could be had for an entry? Kind of makes me feel like that might have had a little bit of a hand in this. Can't guarantee that that's what happened, but we've seen this before where short reports get put out so the price gets brought down. You see a lot of people loading up, and then it goes right back to where it was before. Short reports were kind of gimmicky.
Lion here, giving you a trade idea. I just bought the Nike $50 calls that expire in September. Looking at those contracts, Lion, those are 84 cents by $1. Those are not all that expensive. That's actually not a terrible trade idea. I don't know if it moves $9 on the print here today, but giving yourself time to September, if this does produce a pretty good report and then bounces there, that could actually be a winning trade. 84 by 100 on those September 50 calls for Nike.
Looks like SRFM is going to continue to climb and might run into resistance somewhere between 115 and 120. We're not too far away from there, but this has just been virtually straight up out of the gate.
Yeah, it sure has. Corning. So this is ticker GLW. Buffalo by Bicycle saying Corning looks like another runaway stock. Indeed, it does. Big move yesterday, another 3.5% today. Corning up near 264. Here's what the daily chart looks like on Corning. Look at this. This thing, blue sky breakout here as this continues.
There wasn't any news on this, or it was just that somebody picked this up?
I was actually just looking at the performance here today. I didn't even look at the news.
Joseph Terranova mentioned that Corning was his final trade.
Okay.
So I think that's a little bit of move here.
And Jay, the back to school trade for Nike with those September expiry calls. Yes. I didn't even think to mention that. You're right about that.
Jay,
right about that.
Jay, BlackBerry has been fantastic. Now that we are up here in the 12 handle, I think that this is about where it should start to turn around and come back in. I still think this could go much higher, but I think there's going to be a period where this cools off first. So we may get a week, month or two. At least that's what I'm expecting. I don't know what your expectations are, but I think this goes higher following a pullback or corrective move. Anyone still dissing your I don't know if anybody was dissing your World Cup play. I personally just don't like Airbnb because of their business model. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone disliked the Airbnb World Cup angle. I think that was a good angle. I think the problems are with the company itself.
Sells new highs. Quantum not doing too bad this morning either. It initially dropped out of the gate in some of these quantum names, but they've been getting a nice lift ever since.
Lion, how nuts were you going when Jop scored that header for Morocco last night in stoppage time? I was watching that and I remember thinking Lion is probably like going to bust a coronary right now. Like he is just so excited. That was what a game that was. Lion, let me know how excited. I'm sure that's why you're tired here today. By the way, folks, SPY highs. This thing absolutely ripped. It just got another sell signal here. Not in any of this here, unfortunately. But 744 looks to be the next spot that's going to stop it here. 743.50 test right now. SPY at the highs. Wow, what a move.
I don't know who trashed your Airbnb idea. I just personally don't like the company. I didn't think it was a bad idea because it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, like I said, the World Cup thesis angle of that made sense to me. I can't recall who smack talked that. Sorry, Jay. Not us.
Yeah, but you can laugh at him now because you just pocketed tons of dollars. Yeah, that's another thing that happened with Verizon. Verizon was great. I think I would still want it to come in some more before I jump back into it because this, Verizon and AT&T, these telecoms, man, they just have so much debt. So if we're getting rate cuts, then maybe these will trade better. But I don't think I'm interested in Verizon right now. I think I would want this, I'd probably want this back in the 2023 levels. The lows there. I think that's what I would be more interested in. I don't know that I'd even want it up here at in the low 40s or the high 30s. I think I'd want it more in the low 30s.
KTOS, excuse me, KTOS. This is on the scanner. This is another drone name here, likely moving on the back of AVAV. SPY 743.50, your resistance area so far.
There's decoy coming up off of some lows. I'm just looking for something that's getting set up here. Sells, meanwhile, still printing new highs. 472 now.
Boy, this sells. This thing's up 440%. Yikes! What a move! Grats to anyone that had sells. I'll just give a preemptive register ring for that. This thing's a monster.
I mean, if you had held on to S dot, not that I would have ever recommended doing something like that, but if you had held on to S dot when we started talking about it toward the end of the show yesterday, this is still printing, and it's printing big. 51.98 is the high. Yesterday, when we were just starting to talk about this, this was about to breach 20. What can you do but laugh?
Laugh. That's the best medicine.
Live, laugh, love, and like and subscribe.
I'll take that. I'll take that all day. I'll tell you, it was a wild game last night, Lion. More today. Can't wait for the games here today.
It's got to be tough for the Dutch. That's the second time, the back-to-back World Cups where they lost that way.
Yeah, in fact, I believe the Dutch in their last 6 World Cups have not lost to get eliminated. I believe in their last 6 now, with last night, they've been technically they get a draw, because if you lose in penalties, it's considered a draw. So I don't actually think they've lost a game in regulation to be eliminated from the World Cup in the last 6 attempts. So tough is right, 13. I would agree with you.
So Jay, I haven't seen the DoD particular tech, but this is something that I've known about for quite some time as far as counter drone technology. We're not going to be. I don't really think that the idea of using kinetic munitions or cluster munitions is really going to be the way to go. It's going to have to be low cost, highly efficient, type of munitions, and that's going to be lasers. Lasers are 100% going to have to be the counter to drone swarms. As far as the technology for countering that, I think AVAV does have some. And the point about these different companies that are involved in laser and light optics, I would say maybe, but I would dive into those that look like they have a drone application or a anti-drone application. I don't have a list, unfortunately, but I think what we're talking about is exactly the kind of counter that the U.S. and pretty much everybody's going to need to develop for drone warfare. Is ALB finally bouncing? Good.
I'm so glad this question got asked. Go off, 13. Let me put the chart on here.
All right. So ALB, I'm not necessarily convinced that we're done with the decline yet. It does look like it's trying to turn around here. We are still trading underneath the 200-day SMA. I have a 145 as another level. That's of particular interest. That was the high from November 6th of 2017. So I've just had it on there, and it's provided support and resistance ever since. I think that there are still some lower prints to be had, and I understand that the RSI is pretty low, so I would expect there to be a brief bounce, maybe an attempt to try and recapture 145. But I think there's still going to be some lower prints ahead. It just might be that way for a little while, but eventually, yeah, I do think this is turning around. This is, there's 2 plays really to this, and the whole reason I was even playing this to begin with, when I was buying this back in 2024, was for the low lithium prices. Then as soon as we got the news that China was shutting down the lithium operations in a particular region, that's what started setting this up. I don't know that lithium is the angle that I would play right now. I think bromine would be the additional play I would add to this, because this is like one of the largest bromine producers in the world. They have operations in Arkansas and in the Dead Sea with Jordan. And I don't think that there's a bigger company out there that produces bromine. So very, very important. I think also if we, once this Strait of Hormuz conflict comes to a finality, an end, then we'll also start to see this trade better because their operations for bromine are right in that area. And I think that's one of the reasons why you've been seeing this this decline since May. So I think it's a great idea, but I still think that there could be some more downside ahead. I think I'd be waiting for closer to 100 personally.
Yeah, I like that. I also like Jay's strategy here. Jay's saying wait for some more downgrades.
Yeah.
I like 100. I even like 108, which is down where the 50 is there. I think you can actually get ALB lower, but I do like this as an ad when it carves out that support level. No question about it. Real quick here, Ross382 says losing on penalties is definitely not considered a draw. LOL. Let's consult the rules. Yes, losing on penalties is considered a draw for statistical purposes. The match is classified as a draw even though one team wins in a shootout. LOL.
Man, you soccer fans just love to fight.
No, I mean it's a clear fact versus an opinion, and one of them's going to win. So
I'm just messing with y'all. SRFM, we did climb up to that area between 115 and 120. 118 is the high. We got that print. Now we're getting a sell-off here. We may go all the way back down to VWAP if we don't get support here at 110.
And then as far as GEM, which was one of our movers, this thing actually broke the trend and has just been nothing. Now we'll see what happens here at 358, but I don't know.
We need volume. We need a big inflow of volume here. It looks like it's trying to get some support. That's why you have these wicks on the bottom here, but that's not going to mean anything if we don't get the volume to lift us back over this $4 level. So if we don't get that volume expansion, then it looks like the VWAP could be next.
I'm trying to figure out when my camera's a bit jumpy here real quick, 13. Let's see.
Cycling through some of these other names we've been looking at. FCell continues to climb, knocking on the door of 36. S-Dot came down to, well, I have a trend line here. I don't know if we talked about this one, but the support area looks to be at about 42.50 in that vicinity. It's beneath my VWAP now, so that's a little bit of a concern. It's going to need some better volume than what it's been getting in the past couple of minutes or several minutes in order to recapture that VWAP. So if we don't get that volume, might be some trouble there. GEM looks like we're climbing back over 4. Here we go, getting the volume expansion we needed to see. Is it going to be enough that takes us back up to 450?
And by the way, someone, I think it was Albert, mentioned Beyond Meat earlier. I know it's a penny stock, but you guys love this stock. This thing's been straight up out of the open. It's only up 5 cents, but straight up out of the open. Here's GEM. I was actually just taking a look at that before I came back to this one.
Yeah, so getting some volume, not enough, but we are still trying to hold 4. That's the spot right now. With Beyond Meat, this has been trying to recapture its 20-day SMA. It's been doing it for pretty much the entirety of June. Finally did it today. Now it's got to get over the 50-day SMA. It's at 80 cents. So 80 cents, your next resistance area, it looks like, for BYND. $1 still looks like a very tough spot.
13, I'm going to try and refresh Restream here. So okay. Would you be able to share your screen just temporarily while I try and clear this up?
Sure.
I certainly want to get it cleared up before I bring Anne-Marie on here as well. By the way, SPY continuing to push higher. We did go through 744. This SPY has just been incredible. All right, 13, I appreciate you. I'll BRB.
All right, there we go. It's the moving averages. So here's BYND on a daily. It looks like we're coming up to the 65 EMA on the daily chart. So this could be where the price reverses today. It's done that in the past, like we have here on May 28th. So for now, that would be my expectation. If we do manage to get through the 65 EMA, 80 cents, still very, very clear resistance area right here. that's what I've got for Beyond Meat. What else do you want to look at here? S-Dot pulled up the chart. It was 2,800 3 years ago. That is the power of reverse splits. Oost trimmed some. Nice job. SPY back at upper resistance. Let's take a look at SPY. We got here with SPY. Type it in because down. There's all my drawings because I'm a psycho. All right, here we go. So we are making our way up towards 475. This orange trend line is what I'd be keeping an eye on here. What lagging moving averages do we have above it? None. So we are recapturing a 20-day SMA. That's another good sign. We could continue to push up here, and it looks like the next resistance is kind of going to be met with this trend line here. That should be at about 748. That's the next resistance if we manage to continue to hold over this 743.91 level. Okay, can sells go higher? Let's see. Can it go higher? Let's go to 5 minutes. Starting to go into a sideways pattern. I won't say it can't, but this price action here is a little bit concerning. Like it ran out of steam. You get a little bit of a drop off in the volume. I won't say yes or no yet, but if we start to lose, looks like this 370, 375 area, that, and we start closing under that, I think that's going to be your indication that this is coming back in, and $3 might be your next support if that's the case. Meanwhile, let's see. Oh, a lot of stuff happening there. ALB still recovering from floods in North Carolina. Okay. And what else are we looking at here? AIP been great for a while now. Let's look at AIP. Okay, well, there's a 5 minute. Let's look at the daily. That looks even better. I see what you're saying, about a while now. So since April, we are about to be in July. So nice, nice couple of months there. So I think what you want to see next is this, what happened here. We had a couple of nice days. It took us to new highs. Maybe 52 is the spot, maybe 51, not sure. But what we want to see next is probably some of this consolidation, some support at a certain level here. Don't know what that's going to be because I don't know where this move up ends. Maybe it ends much sooner than later, considering the RSI. But I would think that if we are going to go higher, we want to see some consolidation next. Some support from maybe somewhere in the high 40s. I don't know anything else about this, but just look at this chart. I think that's what I would want to see. On and Sina looks like ARB selling stopped. Let's look at On. On Semiconductor, that is it's a pretty significant drop there. Was this on earnings? What was this move down here? That was what? Let's see, the 25th to 26th. They picked up Synaptics. So that's what it looks like it is. So they are buying a company. That's why it went down, and now it is trying to recover. Still looks like 100 is going to be the spot, and if not 100, that's 65 EMA. Those are next those are the resistance areas I see. Picks and shovels play for semis. AIP. Okay, gotcha. And Sina. Synaptics. Is this the one that was they were picking up? This is the one, isn't it? That On picked up. Yes. They had some short interest too, so that's helping that along. I don't like the way that looks, though. Nice to see that we're getting a 65 EMA support, but failure to recapture, I would say, maybe about this area here, maybe 125. Probably just pin it at 125. Failure to recapture that might lead this lower. Yeah. Now, do you know what the? I could look myself, but I don't want to have the stream be about me reading something. Do you know what that that stock the price is supposed to be for that on SYNA on that buyout? Pavs boom. Pavs boom. Look like it's performing a little bit of an undertaker maneuver here, rising from the grave. Let's look at a intraday chart, see what we got here. Well, look at this volume candle. Let's see what we got here. Well, did the boom happen when it was up? Did you say boom when it was up here? Because we're back down here. Looks like $9 also a pretty stiff area. Seems like every time the price gets beyond $9, sellers step in. That could have been what's happened here. But yeah, Pabs, nice move. Hopefully you got out when it was trading up in this region. Looks like if we come back in, 8 is going to be your support. Intel. Hopefully we didn't lose Ryan. Intel. Let's look at this. Another great day with Intel, but getting pretty extended here. So there you have it. We want to see a move and over 140. It looks like that. I think I would say that that's the resistance area. Only one close above it since then. Unable to get back above there and close above 140. I like that level. Sells room on the daily chart. Were you looking at 5? I think we mentioned 5, didn't we? 5, maybe 6. 5 looks doable. 6 looks possible, but maybe there's a little bit more of more wishing happening with that. But 5 looks possible. What did we do intraday? Because I thought I saw a wick. Okay, so we did. I don't know why that wasn't printing there, but that's trading view for you. So we did hit a high of 472. Let's go back to the daily and see what that looks like here. See, this disappeared. It was right there a second ago. So it looks like right about there is where the price went to. Still think that 5's doable. It just depends on what the volume is doing. It's kind of waning. So maybe not in the morning, but possibly in the afternoon, we could see that move up to 5. Still think 5's possible as long as we are holding above, I would say, 385. Oh, okay. It's a stock deal. Gotcha. Thanks, Jay. What else do you guys want to look at? What about LRCX? Sorry, I missed that. Let me go and check that out. No, I typed that wrong, didn't I? LRCX. There we go. Lamb Research. Gosh, what was it? This is one of the companies that I think that you may just, may just pick up on pullbacks. And this thing, really, really good move since September 2025. Let's look beyond that, see what it was doing before then. I bet it was getting talked a lot about in 2024. But what's interesting about this one to me, and Micron and a handful of others, I know I'm going to mispronounce it too. Molybdenum. That is the there's a material that a lot of research is being done on to replace silicon, and I believe I mispronounced it, but it's molybdenum disulfide, and the idea is to make it so that it is completely. They're calling it like a 2D material. They try to make it so that it can transfer electrons without running into some of the problems that you get with silicon. When you start getting down to the nanometer scale, you run into a lot of physical limitations with silicon. So they're looking for different compounds that can go into that nanoscale measurement without running into electron problems. And this molybdenum disulfide is looking like that's going to be the next material. It's going to just take some time to phase into that. Lam Research is one company that's leaning heavy into that. TSM and Intel are also doing research into that. Micron is actually kind of leading the charge because they're already integrating their memory chips with this material. So I think that's another reason to like Micron. But look into the molybdenum disulfide. That is a new material that a lot of these chip manufacturers are using to replace silicon.
I'm back, 13. I hope that it's working. I'm sorry for doing that, but something's going on with the resources on my computer, that's for sure.
No problem. And no problem, nothing locutus. I've got a Star Wars fan here. Resistance is futile. Okay. ASTS, Rocket Lab, Redwire, warming nicely. Oust, holy S word, just thinking about it.
I can put that up on screen here, 13. I took care of this screen share for you.
Okay, I will stop sharing then.
By the way, I did just get a buy indicator on the SPY, as if that's going to try and go higher here. Not in it, though, with all of my computer issues.
Okay, so yeah, Oost still oosting higher. Sells trying to break the session high. Session high is 472. We're trading in the 430s right now. Just started getting some more movement. See what else is on the move here. Looks like we're getting support in SRFM from VWAP. Might try to take another shot at going beyond 120. Its volume is much lower though, so if I sound a little less confident in that, now you know why. What else?
I'm going to take a look here at AV. Alpha saying that is recovering well. I noticed that Ondas recovered really well. That's pretty nice. This looks like profit taking to me, Alpha. And it's just marching right back up here. And Boost just keeps printing to the upside.
So to come circle around to some of the questions about lasers and anti-drone countermeasures, AeroVironment, one of the names that's got something going on. They picked up Blue Halo, and they have counter UAS platforms like the Locust system. So it tracks and shoots down drones automatically. Raytheon, RTX, that's got one in development. Lockheed Martin has one in development. Rafael Advanced Descent Systems has one in development called the Iron Beam. And then I don't know if this is publicly traded, but Laser Photonics Corporation, LPC, I'm not sure if that's publicly traded or not, or if that's even on American exchanges, but that's another one. So there's several there for you, including some of the big boys. On to require a SINA. I think that's, yeah, we talked about that. That was what Jay was saying. Saidu at this level. I like the theme, just not sure about the stock. Let's see here.
I'll put that on screen here for you, 13.
Well, I do like this support from the 200-day SMA. This has been a big resistance level in the past, going all the way back to the beginning of January. It was a resistance level, and then at the end of 2025 in December, we broke through it, and it is now we're using it as support. I think we need to see a recapture of 3. Of course, we want to see the 20 and the 50-day SMAs also get taken out. But I think 3, being that that's the next resistance area from here, we need to get back above that. Otherwise, I would say we're coming back down to the 200-day SMA for another retest.
Good stuff there on Saidu.
NBIS is a champ this morning.
NBIS has just been an incredible champ. Look at this here today. You're right about this today.
Yeah, it looks like it wants to climb back up to the $300 level, where it's been getting resistance. So maybe this next visit up to 300, we finally break through.
You know what else has been good recently on the move back down has been Kopin. That's KOPN. Remember, they're doing the microelectronics. They're trying to onshore that entire business for our warfighters and the equipment that they use. This pullback here was great to 375. Nice little bounce here for Kopin. We'll see if this can recapture 5.
Yeah, it's going to have to, because if it can't, it looks like this may just end up coming back down to the 200-day SMA.
Yeah.
I don't like this. I don't like this formation.
Hope that's not the case, but if it is, consider adding down there. This is more of a long-term time horizon on this.
Surf Air Mobility back up here at 118, looking for 120. 119. Let's see what else we got here. Sent you to Micro Center. Oh, F-Cell over 36, looking for 37. Oh, it printed 37. It looks like it's trying to hit that again. 37.23 is the high in F-Cell, and this opened. It's opened at just under 29. So another nice move here in F-Cell.
Yeah, this is a ridiculous move. Iron. This is interesting. This is a. I think, you know what, that might be a closing trade. I saw a bunch of iron puts go off. 1,100, almost 1,200, 47 puts for this week. Trader spent $500,000 on that. Side note, I'm looking for a new chair. What do you have? I have the X chair, and it is awesome. And I got the add-on with the Elemax thing that the cold air actually does feel pretty awesome. But the X chair, the infinite recline, is unbeatable.
SRFM through 120, and running into some sellers here between 125 and 130. I don't know if we'll see the other side of these sellers. Looks like they're really starting to stack up here, but we still kind of chip away at them. It's just that I think we're going to need to see better volume than this if we're going to see 130.
I did just get a sell indication on the 0 DTE call. Unfortunately, that is a sell for about flat. Looks like the price of the 744 contract was 145 for both the buy and the sell there. See if SPY goes higher here, but the indicator did say to sell.
Oh, Jay, $72 breakout in CGNX, right? That's what's next. It looks like. That's what I'm seeing.
Oh, look at that. You're absolutely right on that, dude.
To his warning, he's suggesting no one chase this. Kind of hard not to, when it looks like it's going to break out. But if you do decide to do that, just understand the risk you're taking of buying this when it's been on a massive run since April of 2025. Now up. Hold on a second, I'll tell you. Now up 211, 210%.
SPY has gone higher, so it flew in the face of that sell indicator.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of a bummer there. Let me ask you on CGNX, if this were to break 72, maybe go up to 75 or so, and then back test the 72 breakout level, how would you feel about it then? That would actually feel like pretty good price action.
Well, I feel like it would be overbought. I think that you're getting. It looks like we're going to get a breakout through 72, but if we go up to 80, I think that's where you're going to see some sellers really step in. So okay. I think to Jay's warning, that's probably why he's you'll have to tell us, but I think that's kind of what I would look at and as a good reason why not to chase. There's very little upside before you run into a major resistance area. So I think it's probably wise to if you're going to trade this, don't plan on being it for too long. But if you want to hold this for a longer period of time, you might want to wait for it to come back in.
Lion saying, Ryan, are you going to buy Lily dips with me? You know, I'd like to, Lion. I'd tell you what, that is a tough one to pull the trigger on. What are you thinking here for a dip? I don't think I think I would be totally fine being patient enough to try and wait out to 20 again, which is down at 1133. What dip level are you looking for? Something more aggressive, maybe 170 or 1170? Let me know. Chad, can you look at Asana? I mean, sure we can, but why? That's, by the way, that's just my own personal displeasure with this program that we use here at work. Chart doesn't look great, does kind of look like the bottom's in. Maybe if you can get above the 50 and it looks like it was just kind of riding the 50 here. It's also got the 200 in the same spot. 689 looks to be an important level here. We're basically right there, but we can't get above it. I don't know what the positive is for Asana. Of all of the app-based tools that we use here at work, this is probably the one I like the least. So I'd probably need some help with the bull case on this. Chart does look like a bottom is put in. Don't really love it, though.
Maybe a short squeeze.
34.5%, 4.82 days to cover. High on one metric, almost high on the other.
Yeah, they had earnings last month, almost a little bit more than a month ago today, and they raised their guidance. So I can see a case here, but I feel like it's going to need a catalyst to get that short squeeze going.
That's what I mean. What's the bull case on this? And if the short squeeze is part of it, that's fine. But what's the catalyst that's going to drive it higher? That's going to induce the short covering?
I mean, it's got revenue. It's just that it's trying to work into profitability. Yeah, there would have to be like some kind of hold on a second. They achieved FedRAMP moderate authorization. So FedRAMP, that is I'm pretty sure we talked about this. I think that was the federal regulations. It's the thing that hit Oracle, right?
Or that's what it was. It was Oracle that we were talking about.
I'm sorry, not Micron. Microsoft rejected Oracle. There's to use their servers because they weren't FedRAMP compliant, something to that effect. Now I don't know if that's going to have anything we can trade on with this, but that's interesting that showed up there. I really don't know what the catalyst is going to be, but I think that it's something that bears worth watching because a good catalyst will certainly start the squeeze. I just don't know what that is. I'd have to read into this some more to find out what they have coming up. It's a good idea. I just don't know what the catalyst is that's going to get it going.
So it sounds to me like, and Chad, if you've been following the story, correct me if I'm off base here, but it sounds to me like what's going on is that they're trying to get approved for FedRAMP so that they can be used by the government, which would mean sticky contracts that would last a long time. That would absolutely be positive for the stock. I will say, the FedRAMP discussion, the first time I've really kind of discussed this was when we were talking about Oracle not long ago. I am absolutely not an expert at this, so I don't really know what some of the tailwinds would be from this. But I would imagine if Asana positions itself where it can be used in government securely, this would be really good for revenue because these would be sticky contracts that would continue to get paid. So that's the best I can do for you there. And again, I'm fighting my own personal bias here just because I don't like the product. And then really quickly here, Alpha Trades. Ryan was right on when he said AV is in profit-taking zone. Just want to hear what his reasoning is. So the reason is because the stock popped 30+% on the back of its earnings. And we talked about how the bar was low for this. So I would imagine that people trading this for short term, they wanted to take gains. And even if they were swinging it, they're probably booking some so that they can hold it here. So the move down just felt like a profit taking move to me.
EKS, I doing the exact same thing. I'm nibbling at Clorox. I like the dividend. I think it's I think that the stock's been hammered down to where it's I think it's attractive. So I'm starting to build a position in Clorox. We're not going to stop cleaning.
Consumer defensives too, right? That's part of the thought there in case we move down. Okay. Folks, just a reminder to get your votes in. We're closing the poll in a minute. And just as another reminder, we're turning those vote responses into content. So y'all are helping with that. We really appreciate it. 13, any closing words for the group before we move over to Anne-Marie here today?
Yeah, hit a like for yourself. You guys are part of the show too. And thanks for coming and being a part of it. And thanks for all the great ideas. I mean, you guys were pointing out a lot of interesting stuff today that I didn't even think to look at. So keep coming back, keep showing us what you find out, and we'll do the same. But until then, I'll be back here tomorrow. Enjoy Anne-Marie, and have a nice rest of your day. Goodbye.
All right, 13, thanks very much. Awesome stuff. Again, I'm sorry my camera's so screwed. I don't know what's going on. Frustrating. 13, have a great one. We'll be back on again tomorrow. 13's departure leaves room for Anne-Marie. Let's bring her on right now. There we go. Anne-Marie, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I love the tickers. I got to tell you.
Oh, at the top of the screen?
Big fan.
Producer's been doing work. We got news at the bottom of the screen too, so we should be able to keep that news flow going. Do you want to share your screen here? I'd love to hear what you're looking at.
Yeah, sure. Perfect. I was actually looking at Clorox when 13 said, "Hey, I'm looking at Clorox. I'm thinking of picking it up." And I think it's got some room further to the downside. There's nothing but relentless selling in here right now. So pretty interesting, though. I'm going to use Mark Petrino's remorseful buyers going to be hanging out in these places that we haven't seen the stock in quite a long time. Everybody's saying, hey, it should hold 100, and then it went to 94. Now, if it recaptures 100, then we can start building some sort of thing. You can do something like an options wheel strategy. And so what is a general options wheel? You go, okay, I'm going to sell the put, but I'm going to sell it at the money, so it's good enough to be collected. I'm going to collect some premium, and then I'm going to sell the call right after it and get it taken away. And then I've got that flow. And then every month oh, wow, you look like Max Headroom this morning. So back and forth, you can do that in a wheel. And Clorox makes for a good one to do this with because it's fairly stable. So you're not going to make a bazillion dollars, but you're also not going to be feeding pigeons in the park if something goes awry.
Okay, that's probably a good thing.
Okay, so we could look at, I'll take anybody who's looking at anything. So if we look at Merck, we've got a couple of things to stare down. And then who's got earnings that's really something interesting going on right now? And I don't remember who/what. But this seasonal pattern in this little pocket of time is usually good for pharma. So we're going to look at Amgen and we're going to look at Merck. And so what it's going to tell us is, potentially what we can look at. These guys have earnings in August, and we've got, really good upside flows. Right now, yeah, you might go, man, this is so boring that she's giving me this one. It's boring. But boring might keep us safe for a hot minute. And so Merck makes for a really nice, you could do a short put spread because it's got natural movement underneath it that will give it a support. Now, how do you want to actually execute a trade like this? You want to put an alert that gives you something like the midpoint. Take a look at what's happened here. Here's the prior earnings event. Here's the current earnings event that was a doji, and then the hold above. So Merck has got some upward flow into the next ledge, maybe 140 or so, but it's also got sideways pressure. So my thought would be put an alert for about $116 or $115. And when it comes in, buy call spread or sell a put spread. I've had the spinning wheel of death all morning. I apologize about that. So
on your broker?
Oh no, when I'm showing the
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing we can look at is you could say, well, I want a long trade now. Well, it's going right into earnings, and a lot of times we have a volatility push into 3 to 4 days before earnings, and then it starts tapering off. So it's probably better to wait unless you just really can't help yourself, and then buy. You could do a condor, right? And if you do a condor, you can do it into the end of August because that's where all their vol is. And you can say, okay, I want to buy the 130 and I want to, where's the top? 140. And I want to sell the 140, and that's going to be 315. So maybe I just sell the 145 to 155 to make myself just a little bit more profitable from that space. So I have a $2 long call spread, and then a $10 long call spread that I'm only paying $2.50 for, and then I have that short call spread that price action should not go into, and it's going to cost me $2.45. If it goes to 140 and never gets to 145, you make the whole amount. The other call spread expires worthless. You have one short event to trade in here. So the options are thin, but you don't have much to get out of unless it just moves like a savage beast to the upside, which I doubt it's going to. So that's the first one. The next one is Amgen. And so Amgen also has a pretty nice bullish event on the horizon here. Also pharma, also with some statistically seasonal upside into the latter half of the summer. And so notice the box that we had here. The pullback was to go long at 330 with the target up at 370. It's done that and could easily come back here before its next earnings event. Again, you look at the same sort of thing. Condor, easy way to trade this for upside. It's going to cost a little more than if, say, you did a butterfly, but by the same token, you've got less of an opportunity for trouble with execution if this price action doesn't do exactly what you want it to. So where do we expect it to go? 400 might be the top of this range, and 370 might be the bottom. So we would do, you could do 370 to 380, and then 390 to 400. Again, $2. Wow, it's got all kinds of movement on it. That's because it's thin. You easily can enter these going in two separate trades also. You can take the long call spread, and then you can take the short call spread. The goal is to pay for the spread while positioning yourself for the bullish flow. And that is certainly something that you can do. You can also do a short put spread, right? But that opens up a little bit of something if you, ooh, that's terrible. Look at that. You could do, yeah, these look terrible. So, and there's nobody in there. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would put the bid in for $1.80 and see if it goes. It's going to give you some very nice upward pressure if it does move.
Okay. Did you want to take names from the chat here?
Sure, I could take names, or I could just keep going. So,
I was going to say they're going to probably be a little bit different than what you're looking at here because
Of
our group's
course.
obsessed with semiconductor stuff. But
Yes.
It looks like ARM and Marvell were both mentioned here. I feel like we've looked at Marvell recently, so maybe let's start with ARM.
ARM, okay, great. Okay, so ARM did a great job of just coming right into the top of this box, this targeted box. Remember, this box, this range is drawn by this candle, expanding that. So pretty dramatic motion in my mind. That's almost 2x. No, it's over 2x, 2.25, right? And so coming back down into this range, not a bad idea. Let's go to a daily chart and see what we've got on the flows. Okay, so we had this doji in a topping formation. We've got negative divergence. Looks like this bounce is going to be a sell. So what's the storyboard here? So let's think about an aggressive position, and then let's think about a measured position. So here's what we've got. We've got upward flows in trend and all of the like. We've got downward flows in momentum that have really opened up since this high in the beginning of June versus the most recent high at the 22nd. So there's been downward flow building for a while. The bounce easily should bring it back to 250. Now, you know, anytime I recommend a short in one of these guys, you know, the chat lights up and goes, you know, she's bananas, which, listen, I hear you. However, usually it's something more colorful than she's bananas. But my thought is we've got a temperament shift here. The prices don't, there's a lot of volatility, a lot of rotating. The big bounces have been sold off twice in a row. Here's the first big bounce, completely sold off. Second big bounce, completely sold off. This is weakness. So it's either going to be in a sideways patch, or it's going to come down and test something a little bit more dramatic. And so let me go to the 50 simple moving average. Let's move that there. Whoops. Simple. Let's put a 50 on there. I don't know why it's disappeared. but let's put a 50 on there and let's see what happens. So yeah, could easily be moving down into the 50 simple moving average, and that is down there at the 300 area, which $50 away. So, if it were me, I would wait for the alert that tells me either no, Missy, you can't fill this gap, which is this one right here, which is what they're struggling against right now. If we close above this 356 area, we're going to be in pretty good shape to continue long up in the top. So above 350, we probably go to 400 again. However, if we don't hold 350 and we close below that ledge, to me, it's a move down to 200, to 300, and then potentially 255. So my thought would be, well, how do you want to trade that? Well, let's see how they do at this battle here. Put an alert here and say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. I want it to close above this area at the end of the day. By the end of the day, I want to see that it's closed above this area. If that's the case, tomorrow morning, you can try the long up to 385. Like our gentleman friend this morning,
Mike.
I was going to say Mark. Well, that's not his name. I knew it's an M name. So he said, who really is here to play? And today is the last day of month-end rebalancing. And you've seen the wicks moving back and forth in the charts overall. So not a bad plan to wait and see. Pulling out the tinfoil hat out of the bottom, I actually believe we're going to try and get through this holiday and play nice with everybody so we can have ourselves a glorious weekend of whatever. And then next week, we're going to lay down some hammers somewhere. And so I think that creates more volatility in the market.
When you say lay down hammers, do you mean stuff's going to get pounded or do you mean hammer candles?
I think some stuff's going to get pulled back significantly because of laying the hammer down at the straight and being more forceful with the European Union and saying, hey, you guys, you're going to have these tariffs, blah, 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 blah. I just don't, the trend is up, but I can tell you this, every time it bounces really high, I'm taking money off the table. I just am in the space of it feels like a gossamer wing, as if I could put a colorful piece of language on it. And so
I don't even know what a gossamer wing is.
A gossamer wing is, you ever seen a beetle, or they have a hard casing shell that has hard wings, and then they have a second set of wings that are what you think might look like fairy wings. You can almost see through them. And I'm sorry, you've really discovered what a science nerd I am. I'm such a nerd.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
I'm such a nerd. But yes, flies have gossamer wings. All flying insects have gossamer wings, and apparently fairies do too, but I haven't met any fairies personally. If I do, I'll let you know.
Okay. Well, it looks like this is a butterfly thing, but you learn something every day around these parts. So
yeah, not only butterflies, but yes,
other insects.
Yes.
All right. So good stuff here on ARM. Look, one of the other requests that we had here was for Nike, and they report earnings tonight. So maybe an earnings trade for Nike.
Okay. So my thought with Nike was down she goes. So what I would suspect, if you want to step in front of the earnings, two things could happen. Notice last earnings, gap down horrifically, and then just has sat really in the range of that trading week for an entire quarter, right? If we put it on a weekly chart, you can see that it literally is sitting inside of a box from the last earnings event. And now we've lost the edge of that box, but we're also coming into the target zone
Mm-hmm.
for this particular trade, which was down here at the 40 area. To me, this is your basic crapshoot. It literally is. You could roll sevens or snake eyes. Seriously, because people could say, you know, we've had enough. This, I don't know how much institutional ownership Nike has, but I really believe this is a dying brand. I mean, and listen, we've got a lot of brands that die, folks. It happens. We're just going through the cycles of those sorts of things. And so, you know, do we have divergent momentum? Yes, we do. If you stare down the momentum event, you can see it's very savagely low here and not as low. This is why I think we could easily see a bounce. If we see a bounce here, I am selling it. This is a post earnings trade to me, ideally, because we want it to bounce, because people have got hopium, because they grew up with the swoosh and they don't want to see it go away. And they go, no, this is it. And it pops up. We maybe get 2-3 weeks of motion to the upside, and then it's good night, Irene. So I'm looking for it to fail somewhere around this 55 area. So that's a pretty big bounce. And so
Sure is.
if you're thinking to yourself, well, if it could bounce, what's the cheapest bounce I can get? Well, you know, that's a great thought. If you said, hey, I want to look at some sort of big bounce that moves really far, really fast, because all the shorts have to get out, how can you do that? You know what? You can easily go to, say, look at where they are. They're all here at the 45s. That will give you 84 cents at the 45 calls, and you'll be in great shape.
You know, what's
know?
interesting about that level there, options are implying a 10.5% move. So on a $41 stock, you're looking at what, $4.50?
Yep. And that's right at that 45. Now, you're going to see a vol crush. So if it really does move, you know, here's the next one up at 11. You go to 47.50, and now it's only 40 cents. So if it doesn't move, you're out, you know, half the amount. But if it does move, you've got yourself, you know, $2 to the upside. So what do? You buy two of those instead of the 145 call. I mean, it's not going to 70.
Yeah.
So, you know, you could do that and watch it go to 70.
I was going to say, there's no, I think you're safe on that one. I make predictions and I immediately think, oh, I wish I could take that back because I'm going to be made to look like a moron. But I think you're safe on this one, Anne-Marie.
And look, there's, you know, 29,000 up at 50. So easily you could go, you know what, I'm doing it. And I'm going to take the 45, 47 put spread or a call spread, or I'm going to take the 50 call spread. Literally, it's an asymmetric bet. If it works, we know the measure of the move. The measure of the move is first going to come to that 45 level, which is rounded about, well, maybe 46 really, where it comes into. That'll be the first one. And then the second one will be that 50 ledge. And then, you know, it'll be whatever. But that's why they're doing it. That's why they're selling or buying these calls. You can see the measure of the move from the Fibonacci's that we've drawn off of the earnings formations. So if they're doing that, it's great. Now, if you think it's going to give you another fall to the floorboard like it did from the last earnings event, the next one down would be, you know, 35. And so you could easily do that. You could say, hey, I'm buying 35 foot. If you're thinking it's going to do that, and that 35 foot should be, look at it, it's cheap.
Yeah,
You can buy both sides.
Yeah, part of me wonders here if just Nike is so beaten down and the bar is so low that that's one of the reasons the puts are just so cheap.
Yeah.
Just nobody. I don't know. To me, it sure seems, and especially based on the conversation we had here in the chat, seems like the crowd is waiting for this to trade to the upside.
Yeah, and remember this: whatever the crowd's waiting on usually isn't what the market gets in.
Yeah. Yep.
So, it's the market's here to destroy every piece of self-confidence we might have.
And it does an excellent job at that. I'll tell you what, it is so good at wrecking the self-confidence. That is for sure. All right, we got one last one here, Anne-Marie. Eli Lilly, LLY.
Lovely. Let's do it. Lilly is a beast,
Sure is.
I have to tell you, I'm very anti-Lilly, and I don't know why. But as you can see, being anti-Lilly has been a bad thing. So notice, here we are, same setup, prior earnings, the last earnings event we had. It broke out of the box the first day. 6 days later, it gave us a shot at going long, and that box is the earnings box on the day. And then it's been all she wrote, and now it just hit the top of our range expansion. My thought is that this could easily rotate back down into frontline support, where it would end up being a really nice trade. So where would that be? The prior earnings box before this most recent one gives us this region of strength at 1114, and then potentially the 50 moving average and the center point of our linear regression line. That is about 1065. Now, you might be thinking, geez, I figured it'd go up to X, Y, or Z. Well, I don't really have that as one. However, if it breaks above 1240, let's think about what this thing has done every single time it broke a new high, even if it was just for a day, right? We can see over the last 6 months, it breaks high and it rolls over. And then it tries to break high again and it rolls over. And then it breaks high and it rolls over. And now we come here, it breaks high, it moves forward, but then rolls back. Breaks high, rolls back. And then every other day, this is a really nice expansion move, likely going through this earnings box right here. But then again, we've got the high, give back, high, give back, high, give back. So if you're looking at that and you're going, well, how do I want to trade that? This thing's awfully bullish. When is earnings? August the 5th. Earnings season going to be super interesting. So
Yeah,
if we go,
it really is.
Yeah, it's going to be very
SpaceX,
interesting.
I mean, say less.
Yeah. So if we go here and we say, hey, well, I'm just going to do an iron condor, we can do one in August. That's let's see where we are. We can do the 1040, 1030, these spreads you can drive a truck through. And then where is everybody? They're here at 1360. 1340, 1360. Let's go 1380. It gives you, 1380. So I would need 1420. So this one's expensive. Because the spread, because the spread is wide. It's 20 wide here for this motion, but it does give us our minimum amount. It gives us the $5 that we always look for, right? Normally we look for $2 per $1,000, so 200 per $1,000. So, this gives us a nice sideways trade. But if you're going directionally and you're saying, hey, what's likely to happen from here, I suspect downside pressure. And so for me, I would be easily looking for the fade into frontline action, which is 1100, 1110. And if I do that, if I did 1100 or 1110 to 1100, that's just $1.88. And if I wanted to give it some room, I could also go, hey, I'll go 160 to 150, and it would save me, 30 cents right there. And so it'd be $1.50 you'd be looking at from this condor. A lot easier to work through than a butterfly, because essentially one of these spreads is not going to be remotely touched in the motion, right? So, that's if you think about that. But I mean, this is upward trend. So pullbacks are going to be buys. If you're thinking about that, then just wait for the pullback to give you the buy. I mean, and that's going to be patience, whether you say, hey, I can't do it, not patient enough. Well, then, just set it, forget it. When the alert comes on, you go, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that.
There it is. It's time. All right, Anne-Marie, really good stuff here this week. I appreciate it again. We're not going to have you on Friday because the market is closed, but we'll be back at this again next week. So have fun celebrating America's birthday. Keep all your fingers.
You also, and toes, yes.
And
I
toes.
definitely will. I will not be on the internet with any bizarre things happening to me. I'll stay out of the way.
Okay, good deal. We'll follow up with you next week. Have a good one, Anne-Marie.
Yes, thank you. You also.
That is Anne-Marie Baiynd, folks. There you go. You got your options trade ready for Nike. We got a Lily trade on there, ready to go. Folks, we're out of time here for today. We'll be back at this again tomorrow. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Good luck on the Nike print.